And now to honor America with the singing of our national anthem, please welcome Warner Brothers recording artist, singer-songwriter, BB Rexa.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the Rockies' red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free? In the hall of the brave.
Beautiful rendition of our national anthem for the All-Star game. When we come back, a special presentation for the Latin-born Hall of Famers from Miami. The All-Star Game from Miami, presented by MasterCard. get set for the first pitch. Glad you're with us tonight on Fox. Special ceremony coming now. There is a passion for baseball that is ingrained deep into the soul of Latin America. We see it every day, from small fields on the shores of the Caribbean to the bright lights of major league ballparks. And for the very best, that passion has taken them all the way to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. They include trailblazers like Martín Diego, Jose Mendez, and Cristobal Torriente, Cuban players who made their mark in the Negro Leagues. Broadcasters with a style all their own, bringing the game to generations of Latin American fans. Jaime Jarrín from Ecuador, and Miami's own Felo Ramirez from Cuba. Major League legends who became household names in any language and earned another title, Hall of Famer.
They came to Major League Baseball carrying not only their own dreams and talents, but a force much greater, the heartbeat of their countrymen, el compás del corazón. A young pitcher who arrived on the scene with an iconic leg kick, Juan Marichal. He was the Dominican dandy and baffled hitters throughout his career. A generation later, another Dominican pitched his way to immortality. Pedro Martínez, El Grande, was one of the most dominant pitchers the game has ever seen. The breakthrough Venezuelan Hall of Famer was shortstop Luis Aparicio, who became the first Latin-born Rookie of the Year and dazzled us with his go-go spirit and golden glove. From Panama to Cooperstown, Rod Carew was a magician with a bat and was selected to a remarkable 18 consecutive All-Star games. From a sugar mill in Cuba to the Big Red Machine, Tony Perez's illustrious career spanned 23 seasons. Beloved by his teammates, he was one of the most productive hitters of his era. He was called the Baby Bull, but in the batter's box, he stood larger than life. Puerto Rico's Orlando Cepeda slugged his way to 11 All-Star selections in the halls of Cooperstown. Roberto Alomar emerged from Puerto Rico to become one of the most complete players in the game and won more Gold Gloves than any other second baseman in baseball history. This Puerto Rico native became one of the best defensive catchers of all time. Ivan Pudge Rodriguez was a leader throughout his career, and Miami might remember a World Series champion. And a tribute to the enduring impact made by Latin-born ball players would be incomplete without the great one. Roberto Clemente was a brilliant player on the field, but more importantly, one of the game's great humanitarians. This amazing collection of Hall of Famers has added an indelible accent to the rich tapestry of our game and helped light the way for countless others to follow in their footsteps. And their legacy lives on today among baseball's most vibrant stars.
Tonight, at baseball's Midsummer Classic in Miami, we are proud to welcome these baseball icons to the field. Her husband and their dad was the pride of Puerto Rico, and in 1973 became the first Latin-born player to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Please welcome, along with her sons Roberto Enrique, Luis, and Roberto Jr., Mrs. Vera Clemente. In 1983, he was the first Latin-born pitcher to be enshrined in Cooperstown. From the Dominican Republic, Juan Marichal. Unable to be with us tonight in Miami, we send our very best wishes to 1984 Hall of Fame inductee Luis Aparicio from Venezuela. This pure hitter was a no-doubt Hall of Famer, inducted in 1991 from Panama, Rod Carew. One from Puerto Rico, 1999, Hall of Fame inductee. Please welcome Orlando Cepeda. One year later in 2000, this native of Cuba joined Orlando in Cooperstown. Please welcome Tony Perez. No stranger to All-Star games, from Puerto Rico, a 2011 Hall of Fame inductee, Roberto Alomar. He had a big fastball and a bigger heart. A first ballot Hall of Famer in 2015. From the Dominican Republic, Pedro Martinez. The newest member of the club being enshrined later this month. He had an incredible career behind the plate and a pretty good October here in Miami back in 2003. Please welcome from Puerto Rico, Ivan Rodriguez. Throwing out tonight's ceremonial first pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, the Latin-born members of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Take a break, and when we come back, John Smoltz and I will set up tonight's game, give you a sneak peek into our coverage from Miami after this.
are the game's grandest players, the leading men of baseball's most glittering show. Head and shoulders above all, taking to a sparkling diamond in July, acclaimed all-stars, exuding the style of this generation. Combed from 30 teams, razor-sharp achievers, cutting-edge performers, exuding class, cool, and confident. And set to unfurl the Midsummer Classic in Miami on Fox.
Now let's have some fun tonight for the first time in the Sunshine State. Major League Baseball All-Star Game is here and in Miami. Great celebration of the game. It's the 88th in Major League Baseball history. And now welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck. John Smoltz is coming right up. Well, for the past 14 years, I've been standing here telling you this time it counts. Well, that's no longer the case. Home field advantage in the upcoming World Series not on the line here tonight, but a lot of pride is. And because it's more of the exhibition style of baseball, we'll get a chance tonight to take you, the viewer, to places you haven't been before when you watch baseball on television. Welcome in John. And John, I guess power is a big word when you think about all-star games. Power pitching, plenty of power in the batter's box. And we start with maybe the new face of baseball, Aaron Judge, the rookie for the Yankees.
Well, baseball is in good shape. It's young, it's strong, and it's powerful, and Aaron Judge has been the face of baseball for both leagues. What he's done in the first half, you forget what he did last year, striking out 40% of the time. He's made adjustments. The numbers are staggering, and never have we seen this size and power combination ever before in baseball, and it was on great display last night as he won the Home Run Derby competition. The Yankees are happy. The league is happy to watch somebody they haven't seen like this before.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about him more during the course of tonight's game. We've talked plenty about the guy in right field for the National League. That's Bryce Harper. He was an all-star at the age of 19 years old. Now he's a savvy vet, an MVP, was Rookie of the Year back then. I mean, he's fun to watch too.
He's the face of the National League. Hard to believe we're talking about him as a veteran, but that's exactly what happens at 19. He's been in 5 All-Star games. He's healthy this year. Last year wasn't healthy, didn't say much about it. He's returning to those numbers. He's carrying the Washington Nationals, and actually Cody Bellinger, who's a right-hander, was looking up to him as he came here to meet him for the first time.
Well, we can't wait to watch these guys go at it tonight. We'll give you another look at the lineup. Just gave it to you with everybody lining the third base and first base lines. But here it is for the American League. You get a look at it, and here's a little taste of some new access to players. Let's go down to Ken Rosenthal.
Jose, you told me yesterday you were not happy about facing Max Scherzer. So what are you thinking about as you get ready to go to home plate?
I mean, I'm 30 seconds away from swinging the first pitch, and I'm really happy that I don't have to face this guy every day.
Thank you very much, Jose. Joe, back to you.
All right, Kenny, thank you. And thanks to Jose Altuve for agreeing to join Kenny. He's now got to climb into the batter's box, John Smoltz, and face Max Scherzer. Here are the 4 keys to the game.
Yeah, which power is going to win? We got power pitching. The 9 top strikeout pitchers are in this game, and then we've got power hitters. So we don't see a lot of home runs, but the power pitching is fantastic.
That's what we see a lot of in these all-star games. Guys going up there ready to swing. They don't want to strike out for obvious reasons. There's pride involved, and they see a good pitch, they go after it. Here's the 0-1 from Scherzer to Altuve. A little high. Ball 1. The Spanish language broadcast of this all-star game, you can check it out on Fox Deportes, and we'll tell you who's in that broadcast booth in a moment. Here's a 1-1. Strike 2.
Now this is where Altuve gets tough. He doesn't see a pitch he doesn't like, and he puts the ball in play. He led the league in most first pitch hits, and he doesn't strike out a lot. Talking to Scherzer earlier, he said, man, he may be small, but he plays big. He might as well be 6'5" up there, the way he can reach an upper pitch and a pitch lower in the zone.
Great fastball hitter. Scherzer brings home a delivery, and hello, Max. 1 away to start the night here in Miami. I mean, Altuve's just been a machine. And he's been an all-star in both leagues for the same team, with the Houston Astros when they switched leagues in 2013. Now it's Jose Ramirez, who we saw plenty of last October. A terrific young hitter. I guess that's redundant in a game like this, but Ramirez off to a .332 start, second best average in the American League, behind the guy who just grounded out. Base hit into right. Fastball from Scherzer, and Ramirez is on with one out here in the first. He can hit.
He sure can. He's having a great year. And I tell you what, Joe Madden is going to basically not shift tonight. So we're going to see traditional baseball.
Here's Aaron Judge. He's already set the Yankees rookie record for home runs with 30. As John told you in the opening, he won the home run hitting contest last night. And even the average sports fan wants to know more about Aaron Judge. And when you get to know this kid personally, those who know him far better than I do, far better than you do, say he is as impressive off the field as he is on it. And that's saying a lot. He is a good young man. One on, one out. And a little wrinkle on the end of that pitch for strike one. Aaron Judge, John, has 5 of the 10 hardest hit home runs in 2017, including the top 4. The only other player in the top 10 with more than one is Joey Gallo of the Rangers. I would say Max Scherzer is letting it fly. Judge hit 47 home runs in last night's home run derby, and the total length of them equaled just under 4 miles. One was 513 feet. StatCast is powered by AWS.
Yeah, if you didn't see them, you'd think they were hit by some left-handers too, because 23 of them went to right field. All parts of the park he was displaying his power.
Scherzer, Judge, 0-2 pitch. Outside ball one at 98. Here, just to give you a look at the stats, the total home runs, the total distance, how many he pulled, how many went to right with. Scherzer is just airing it out. He's going to pitch 1 inning here tonight and get ready for his next start for the Nationals on Saturday at Cincinnati. Here's a 1-2. 2-2.
Yeah, this game always for a lot of players is about measured heart rate and heartbeat, because you only have the 1 inning you talked about with Scherzer, and he would not see him do this in the first inning of a start 5 days from now. But he's excited. He knows he's got 1 inning, and he would like to get through this unharmed.
He's got the best ERA in the league, Max Scherzer, and a 10-game winner for the first place Washington Nationals. His 2-2 pitch.
People cannot understand the transformation that Judge has made in 1 year. You see those takes right there? That doesn't happen by a rookie. Last year, 40% of the time he struck out. He's changed the mechanics in his hitting, and it has paid off big time. Those were swings and misses last year in the second half.
Struck him out. 2-0.
As you mentioned, Joe, the 2 starting pitchers are 1 and 2 in strikeouts. He goes with a 3-2 slider. Max Scherzer pitches with emotion, loves what he does. And he'll love getting through this inning if he can, with a 0 on it.
Well, here's George Springer. 1 on, 2 out. Springer's at 27 home runs. The Astros are running away with the AL West and a swing and a miss. I guess it's fitting that Wimbledon's going on. It sounds like somebody's unloading on a serve at center court with the way Scherzer's grunting after these pitches. Strike 1 on Springer.
The top of this order came in hot in July. All hitting with a high average, rolling into this All-Star game.
Here comes an 0-1 from Max Scherzer. Scherzer is a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. He's thrown 2 career no-hitters. And after coming up with Arizona in 08, traded to Detroit in 2010. Cy Young when he went 21-3 in 2013. to Washington as a free agent in 2015, and are they glad they made that deal? 1-1 pitch. Instead, a check on Ramirez.
He's gotten better every year. You know, the complaint early on was he wasn't able to pitch deep in the game, and now he's done that. He's won a couple Cy Youngs. You talked about the no-hitters. All of that getting better, and he takes pride every year trying to upgrade some part of his game.
Here's a 1-1. Strike 2 at 96. And he is just a bundle of energy, and Springer's trying to figure him out. George has the most home runs for a guy batting in the leadoff spot at the All-Star break all time with his 27. You talk about starting games with a bang. 9 times he's led off with a home run. Posey flashes the signs. 1-2 pitch. Go take a shower, Max Scherzer. Your night's over. That was impressive. 1-out hit, strikeouts, and Judge and Springer after a half in Miami. No score. Presenting the Boston Red Sox, and here's the lineup he will face tonight from the National League side. And let's send you down to the field and Tom Verducci.
Charlie Blackmon. Charlie Blackmon, some people swim with sharks, some people jump out of airplanes. You're a left-handed hitter. You get to step in against Chris Sale. Take us inside your game plan for this adventure.
I'm going to swing hard in case I hit it.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
So right from the microphone out to the batter's box, lefty on lefty, and Charlie Blackmon will face Chris Sale, who is kind of one of those old school, mean, tough guys, and I say that in the best possible way. He's got the long arm action. He is a legend from his days at Florida Gulf Coast University. Was there from 08 to 2010. They retired his number in 2015, and whether he's been with the White Sox or now with the Red Sox, this guy's just a winner.
Yeah, he is, and he's fired up to be part of a winning situation, possibly postseason for the Red Sox. Fastball, 2-seam, 4-seam, slider, changeup, nasty. That's how they describe him.
That skips in there for ball 1. Charlie Blackmon is #1 in baseball with his 117 hits. So this has been new territory for Charlie Blackmon. He's a part of a very good young Colorado lineup. That's strike one.
You know, it's amazing when we talk about all the strikeouts and records for that pace and home runs. A lot of the guys in these lineups don't strike out as much. And Blackman's been really good with 2 strikes, so he's going to have to battle against one of the toughest left-handers in the game other than Kershaw.
Stats are huge for Charlie as he hits one into right. Easy for Aaron Judge. 1 out. Blackman, just as he heads back to the bench, top leadoff hitter in baseball since 2014. #1 in hits, home runs, RBIs. Runs scored. And now here's Stanton. Giancarlo is a few inches shorter than Aaron Judge and amazingly about 40 pounds lighter than Aaron Judge. But when he hits the ball, they go just as far.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I feel a little bad for him. He won't make an excuse, but he had the West Coast game, got in about 3 in the morning for yesterday's home run hitting competition, and came up 1 homer short.
Hey. In the hole in a blink, 0-2. Saw that stat. He's the Marlins all-time leader in home runs. He takes outside from Sale. In his 4th All-Star game, he's hit at least 20 home runs in each of his first 8 seasons. Struck him out. Good pitch from Sale. And he's retired the first 2 here tonight in Miami.
This would be a great matchup. You see the 2-seam fastball just kind of sail away, if you will, from Stanton. Chris Sale leads all of baseball in strikeouts. And his funky motion and the way that he delivers the baseball creates an angle that hitters just do not see very often from a tall, slender left-handed pitcher.
So now another lefty, and it's Bryce Harper. One thing you should know is we'll check in with Alex Rodriguez on the field when we come back after a quick break. As Harper takes down and away ball 1. We talked about him in our opening. Kind of teased who's in the broadcast booth for Fox Deportes. It's Rolando Nichols and Ivan Rodriguez, who's headed into the Hall of Fame this summer. That's down in the count 2-0. Upper 90s from Chris Sale. Bryce Harper, the 2012 Rookie of the Year, the 2015 MVP, unanimous. Takes a strike.
Joe West behind the plate. Recently 5,000 games umpiring for Joe West.
Very proud of that accomplishment, as he should be. 2-1 pitch. Umpiring in his 3rd All-Star game is Harper, who was #4 all-time by left-handed batters on the home run list before their 25th birthday. He's still just 24 years old, not 25 till October. He fights it off and has a base hit into left. Strong at bat for Bryce Harper on with 2 out. That's just pure strength.
Not easy to do against Chris Sale, but Harper, he's having that kind of first half. He's healthy again. Look, last year wasn't the type of year we're used to seeing. He's hitting for power, hitting for average. And let me tell you something, that Washington national team could almost be an all-star team offensively, the way they've scored runs, much like the Houston Astros in the American League.
They're the #1 hitting team in the National League, hitting .277 as a group, and they're running away with the East. Here's Buster Posey, who is experiencing a long year team-wise, but one thing you can count on with Buster, great numbers. Career .308 hitter, one of the best all time for a catcher, and he's hitting .324. And now he's got one down the line and left, but foul.
Yeah, you notice the low RBI total, and that's an indication of how his team has been struggling. Posey, one of those rare guys, you see him hooking this ball foul. He's got 35 strikeouts, 33 strikeouts and 35 RBIs. So he has more RBIs than strikeouts, which is a trend you won't see very often. And there's some of the numbers and accomplishments already on his career. I would say a career, if healthy, heading straight to Cooperstown. stay healthy.
And he's been a winner. That keeps the count at 0-2. And as we see every time Fox cameras show up and Salvador Perez is in the game, he gets nicked. And this time it caught him on the right hand. That's not good. Well, he just takes a pounding back there. And no catcher has logged more innings in the game over the last 3 than Salvador Perez.
Yeah, you'll see some catchers will have their hand
leg too.
You see some catchers will have their hand behind their back to protect against the foul ball, but he is one of the toughest guys in the game. So durable, so important to the Royals. Started the season with what looked like a bad knee injury, but got right back to him, and the Royals are in the mix of things, so they're hoping it's just nothing more than just a bruise.
Well, there is an interested observer named Ned Yost who is watching this, hoping that his backstop is okay. So valuable, having his best offensive season, pulling the ball, driving it. He says he's good to go, and that's great. Kansas City got off to a terrible start. And they're back in it just 3 games out at the break, and one catcher talks to another. Buster knows what that feels like.
Such a tough position, but such a needed commodity. 2 of the best right here at home plate.
Again, the 0-2 is skied into center, and that'll play for Mookie Betts. A scoreless first inning in the books in the 88th MLB All-Star Game. When we come back, we'll check in with A-Rod on the field, but first, a special look at Dunkirk in theaters July 21st.
We're going to talk to a few of the All-Stars. Daniel Murphy, you've never faced Chris Sale. You're up first next inning. What's your approach?
Well, hopefully get a fastball on the plate and try to knuckle it like Bryce just did right there. That was a great at bat by him, but see if I can get something early and try to get my ace swing off.
Good luck. Crush it. Yeah. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to go to this side of the infield where I feel a lot more comfortable, and I'm going to talk to Zach Cozart. His first All-Star game. Talked to you yesterday. I remember my first All-Star game. I was with Cal Ripken, my childhood hero. I was awestruck. Have you met anyone here today that's blown you away?
It's everybody, man. All these guys I always considered the best. So I thought you were about to suit up and come and take my spot out here for an inning or something.
I embarrassed myself enough last year. Good luck, brother. Now I'm going from shortstop to third base. This is starting to remind me of my career a little bit. And here's Nolan Arenado, one of the world's best players. An amazing third baseman. How do you make it look so easy?
I don't know. It's not that easy, that's for sure. But I just try to have fun with it, man. I work hard, and I got to help the pitchers out. That's what I try to do.
I wish you told me that a few years ago. I might still be playing.
No, man. No, you know how to field. You know how to field. I like your sidearm throw. That was the best part.
Let me ask you something. A lot of people don't know you're a maniacal gym rat. You love the game. You're an amazing player. Have you been able to take a step back and enjoy this great moment?
Absolutely. This is awesome. I thank God for what I have. I thank God I'm here. I feel like a little kid again, man. It's unbelievable.
Best of luck to you. From the field, back to the booth, John. I've had enough, Joe.
All right, thanks, buddy. Good job, Alex. That was brought to you by Dunkirk from Warner Brothers Pictures. Written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It's got a great cast. It's a fantastic director. Dunkirk in theaters July 21st. Here's Pat Neshek, who takes over on the mound, representing the Philadelphia Phillies. He's had the good ERA in that bullpen, a bullpen that has struggled. Second time Pat's been an all-star. Here's one into shallow center field. Coming to grab it is Blackman. One pitch. One out as Carlos Correa flies out to center to start this second inning.
Yeah, total different pitcher on the mound. And Joe Madden told us he was going to go starter reliever to give the starters coming in more of an opportunity to get ready. Different arm release and different function for the hitters to see a release point kind of funky out of Neshek.
Here is Justin Smoke. It has really clicked for Justin Smoke. We didn't even get a chance to talk about Carlos Correa. That's what happens when you swing and fly out on the first pitch. Hopefully we'll get him next time around. But the story for Justin Smoke is impressive. Just 30 years old. And his 8th season in the big leagues, his 3rd in Toronto, but his first All-Star game. So it's finally come together. A late bloomer. Already a career high in home runs. As you see, the first Blue Jay to start since Delgado at first base in an All-Star game back in '03. That's hard hit. Base hit into right. Past a diving Daniel Murphy, and it's 1 on, 1 out in the second inning for the American League.
Besides the obvious statistics, what's impressive about all these guys that are here, a majority of them can hit with 2 strikes. So it's not just getting the 2 strikes, which every pitcher wants to do. It's making that 3rd quality pitch that you're going to have to do against an all-star lineup. And that was a good example right there. Smoke not giving in and hitting it hard with 2 strikes.
Here's Corey Dickerson. We had a chance to visit with Kevin Cash, his manager, before the game, who is helping Brad Mills get through this lineup. Mills is managing in place of Terry Francona, who is on the mend. And again, we send all of our best wishes to Terry Francona. Was treated for an irregular heartbeat at Cleveland Clinic. And talking to Brad before the game, he said, well, I talked to Tito, that's what he's called, his nickname, before the game, and he was giving me trouble and joking around. That's how I know Tito's going to be all right.
Yeah, he did say they have not ruled out that he might still be allergic to Brad Mills.
Here's one out of play off the bat of Dickerson. His story is great too. Another late bloomer. Left-handed hitter, 2nd year in Tampa Bay. You heard Alex Rodriguez call Nolan Arenado a gym rat. That's what Dickerson is. He can't get enough swinging the bat. Part of a deep power lineup in Tampa Bay with Morrison and Souza. Here's one in the air to left. The Marlin, Marcell Ozuna, hauls it in. Talk about Brad Mills and Terry Francona and their friendship.
He can't be here for the game, but we wanted to bring him in for the meeting, and so we wanted to bring T in.
Well, Terry's never looked better. Terry Francona and Brad Mills are best friends. They were teammates in college at Arizona. Mills had transferred as a junior college player. Terry was one of the bright young players in the game. And, well, they've been together with Boston. Brad Mills left and was manager in Houston for 3 years, and now he's back with his buddy on the bench with the Indians.
Yeah, I got a chance to see them in Boston the latter part of my career. And that relationship is exactly the way you described it. They have a lot of fun, and certainly the success goes hand in hand with both those guys. And the Cleveland Indians are benefiting from both of them.
They keep it light. There's no doubt about it. Michael Brantley, he'll get into this game. Here's a 2-0 pitch. Perez fouls it out of play right side. 2-1. Neshek actually suffered the loss the last time he appeared in an All-Star game. So I'd like to wash that taste out of his mouth. It was back in 2014 in Minneapolis.
All-Star games are all about timing. I gave up 2 runs. I got 2 losses.
Here's a 2-1. Little floater into right center field, falling fast, and there's Harper with a diving catch. And an All-Star game highlight for Bryce Harper out of right. What a play. We'll show you his shoes when we come back. First pitch swinging, and Daniel Murphy is on with a base hit into left. Murphy, who has just been a hitting machine. He's #1 in the National League, hitting .342. Takes the first pitch into left from Chris Sale.
It's unbelievable the transformation of this guy to one of the most legitimate hitters in the game. He's getting up there in age, but it doesn't affect his ability to hit with average and power since leaving the Mets. And I know New York doesn't want to hear it. He has absolutely been a wrecking crew.
Here is Nolan Arenado. So much more to say about Daniel Murphy and the job that he did with Kevin Long at the end of his time hitting instructor for the Mets to get up on the plate, drive the ball more. What he did in the postseason 2 years ago was something. Arenado into right center field with a base hit. The first two are all for the National League here in the second. So the guys that haven't faced Chris Sale are up there first pitch hacking. They've gone 2 for 2 here in the second.
Yeah, like I said, it's timing, and when you face a guy versus what pitch you get. And I believe this one was a changeup that he hit off the end of the bat, but he'll take it nonetheless. In the box score, that's 2 hits against Chris Sale. It's hard to get many in an inning.
Here's Ryan Zimmerman. Everybody up there swinging at the first pitch. Our Lexus pitcher profile on the left-hander, and this year 11-game winner Chris Sale.
Early on, the team did not respond at all by getting him any runs. He really should have a lot more wins, but he's been so consistent pitching deep in the game.
Started last year in San Diego. He was with the White Sox. He starts this year in Miami. He's with the Red Sox. As you said, just thrilled about his chances and their chances going through this 2017 season. Zimmerman had an unbelievable April, might be 2. Altuve, Correa, got them both. And the double play combination from the Astros turns 2 in the second.
Get used to those two. You're going to see a lot of them in the second half and in the playoffs. The best team in the American League and the best duo right there, offensively and defensively. They're having a lot of fun. One, a very tall, strong shortstop, and the short, stocky, unbelievable hitter of Altuve.
Well, Zimmerman, who's an all-star for the first time since '09, hit .420, 11 home runs in April. Cooled off a little, but having a great season with a double play ball to the second baseman Altuve. And now the inning is up to Marcell Ozuna from the hometown Marlins to try and do something with this opportunity in the second.
He's having an incredible year. There's some pieces here in Miami. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the second half. You've got Stanton, Ozuna having fantastic offensive years. But the team hasn't quite matched the success they were hoping to have this year in the record.
We talked about Bryce Harper's shoes, and we'll get to that in the next half inning. We plan to visit with him while he's out in right. Here's a 1-2. Ozuna part of this good young athletic outfield for the Marlins with Christian Yelich and of course Giancarlo Stanton. Giancarlo watching his teammate trying to come up with a 2-out RBI hit. 2-2 still.
Velocity is one thing. We see a lot of velocity. The average velocity of pitchers in the big leagues today has gone skyrocketed, higher than it's ever been. But watch the angle of which this velocity comes from.
Got him swinging, blocked by Perez. Inning over. It'll be Mookie Betts first up in the third for the American League. Scoreless through 2. Back after this from your local Fox station. Third pitcher already for the National League, and it's the right-hander from the Cardinals, Carlos Martinez. He could go 2 here tonight. He's got maybe the most consistent fastball among starters. He can bring it in the upper 90s, can touch triple digits as he misses down and away 1-1.
He's got great stuff, simple mechanics. The record's a little deceiving. I think you talk about the Cardinals and their rich pitching. He's just another example of it.
That's strike 2. Carlos in his second All-Star appearance. He made the final vote 2 years ago, didn't pitch. So finally getting a chance to do this. Changed his number from 44 to 18 to honor his late friend Oscar Taveras. Here's one to the right side, and Zimmerman gobbles it up. One down here in the third inning. Mookie Betts, who can do everything. Former infielder, now an outfielder with the Red Sox, leading the Red Sox in average in home runs and stolen bases. Is out number 1 here in the third inning. It brings in Altuve, who bounced back to Scherzer his first time up.
The ball and throw it, dude.
All Altuve does is get hits, multiple hits, like 3 hits a game.
He's a machine. Strike 1 from Martinez. With 1 out, nobody on. Strike 2. There's 100 from Carlos Martinez, who is number 1 in baseball in wins for pitchers born outside the U.S. since 2015 with 36. Posey smothers it, and the count 1-2. Altuve ready for a 1-2 from Martinez. Chased it, struck him out. And let's send it down to Ken Rosenthal.
Thanks, Joe. Chris, second inning, first and second, none out. What's going through your mind there?
That's another reason.
Don't mess it up, I guess. No, I mean, you're always 1 pitch away from 2 outs. So, you know, those guys up the middle are about as good as it gets. So, just trying to get something on the ground.
You were throwing extremely hard. How much was the adrenaline flowing compared to, say, a regular season game?
I wouldn't say it's more adrenaline. I think it's just a more compact outing. You know, throughout the year you got to cover 6, 7, 8, 9 innings. You know, tonight I knew I was max going 2, so you just kind of let it fly a little bit more.
All right, Chris, thanks a lot. Joe, back to you.
All right, Kenny, thank you. 6-time All-Star. Here's another base hit for Jose Ramirez, and it keeps the top of the third inning going. It'll bring in Aaron Judge, who had to slide by Kenny and Chris Sale. An interesting looking duo on camera to get to the on-deck circle, and now to the plate he goes.
Well, Judge to an opposing pitcher looks like the strike zone is huge, and then what he does to the strike zone is he obliterates it. Anything in the strike zone pretty much he can take to any part of the ballpark. He doesn't chase very often, so he doesn't give the pitcher a lot of windows to go to get him out.
Ball 1 down and away. Aaron Judge also seems to be not falling into the trap of being the most recognizable sports star in a city that can devour the most recognizable sports stars. He was raised well. His mom and dad, 2 educators, adopted, biracial background. Grew up in Linden, California, and a credit to his parents, Wayne and Patty. What a kid he is. 25 years old, carrying the Yankees. Runner goes, throw down, too late. And a stolen base by Ramirez at second here in the third.
Well, those are some of the things you don't see too often in an all-star game, but you've got to imagine it's going to be very difficult to get a lot of hits. So if you get a runner on, you get him in a scoring position. Sometimes a couple runs is all it takes when you have the arms you can trot out.
Counts 1-2 on Judge. What he doesn't get credit for is how he's played the outfield. Played a great right field, and somebody who played center in college. To the shortstop, Cozart. And over to first to end the top of the third. AL's left a runner in each of the first 3 innings after 2.5 in Miami, no score. By MasterCard and sponsored by the Lincoln Summer Invitation Sales Event. Get exceptional limited time offers. It's also brought to you by Verizon, not just unlimited, Verizon Unlimited. South Beach in Miami. Glad you're with us tonight. Dellin Betances, pride of the Yankees bullpen, and the setup reliever for Aroldis Chapman deals, and here's one into left, and George Springer is over to his left to get it back into the infield. And George is wearing a microphone and an earpiece for us out in left. How'd that look from your vantage point, George?
That ball was hit pretty hard. It's a different angle for me, so it's a little interesting.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, are you able to get a jump and maybe sneak a peek as to where the catcher's set up, or something to give you a little bit of an edge where to go? Yeah,
I mean, I can see pretty clearly from here. Normally I'm about straight up between the bases, so I can see it pretty clearly. But it's ball one.
It's ball
still
outside.
tough.
Yeah, hey, you're nice to do this, by the way. Were you surprised you weren't leading off tonight for the American League?
No, I wasn't expecting much. It's just I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun here.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Charlie Blackmon. Breaking ball is filthy from Betances. 1-1.
I got to ask you, would you rather hit a home run or rob a home run?
I'd rather hit one, but I also like to catch them too.
Well, as a pitcher, I sure like outfielders robbing.
It's George Springer in left. That's a foul ball down the right side. How's this experience been? It's been fun down here in Miami, huh?
Oh yeah, this is an experience of a lifetime. I'm extremely happy to be here. Just to be here with all these guys, especially all my teammates. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's the exciting part. You're here, but you're here with friends from the Houston Astros, one of the most dangerous teams in all of baseball. Here comes a 1-2 from Betances. struck him out, and Blackman is the first out here in the third. You guys have a good thing going, George, down in Houston.
Yeah, it was a good first half for us. You know, we were able to play hard and sneak across 60 wins as the crowd favorite steps in.
You better back up.
Yeah, that's my plan as we speak.
Giancarlo Stanton at the plate, and there's
it. Looked like it was coming right at me.
You get a little jolt when a guy like Stanton takes a swing like that?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm about 300 something feet away. I don't know how Ramirez is standing so close.
100 on our radar gun. Stanton swung through it. Strike two. Breaking ball. Called ball one. That was a tremendous pitch.
Well, this is the bread and butter pitch for Betances. He's run into a little bit of a control problem the last week. Seems like he's fixed a few things, especially with the fastball.
1-2. Got him and wasn't even close. 2 out. Hey, George, it's exciting for us to get a chance to talk to you out there, and it's exciting for the country to get to see some Houston Astros. You guys are fun to watch, man, and I suspect we'll be seeing you a lot in October.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're gonna hopefully keep playing some good baseball over this next few months and play into October.
Keep having fun. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, George Springer. Now Bryce Harper. He's also wearing a microphone. We hope to check in with him next half inning. 1 on, 2 out. Talked about his shoes. His shoes are a tribute to the late Jose Fernandez, 24-year-old, two-time All-Star pitcher, was killed in a boating accident last September. Cuban-born pitcher, larger-than-life figure, and somebody who really took to this community, and this community took to him. Strike two from Betances. Betances could strike out the side. And he has his control. Tough to hit. Ball one.
Yeah, that's exactly. And the Yankees are hoping he can get back on track because they have the lethal combination of Betances and Chapman. They've run into a tough stretch of late, losing some games close. They've got offensive power. They got a huge team. This is another huge guy along with Judge, approaching the 6'8".
Two and two.
That's the pitch right there, though. That's the pitch. If he commands, they don't have a chance. I mean, literally, we saw this last year coming out of the pen, throwing 100+ miles an hour in San Diego. It's all about the fastball command for Dylan Betances.
That gets away, and it will send Cozart down to second.
What's up, bro? Congrats, man.
And now a full count on Bryce Harper. MLB wants to see your best plays this summer, whether they're in the backyard or on the diamond. Show us what you've got on social media with hashtag MLB The Play, and we'll feature some of the best all season long. Wild pitch from Betances, now a 3-2. That's down. It's 2 on, 2 out. Buster Posey coming up.
Great job by Bryce Harper after being down 0-2. Two nasty sliders.
Yeah. Ball drops out. Oh, man. Right? The 91 mile-an-hour curveball. Yeah, we saw him earlier this year. Is it? Yeah. I feel like he's a guy you can go up there and just take. He's going to walk it. He'll walk it. Yeah, for sure.
2 on, 2 out. Ball one. And that's been the problem for Betances. As we said, the numbers rather surprising for Dellin, who is as good as there is in the setup role. 1-0 pitch. Breaking ball is outside, 2-0. He's got 53 Ks, 26 walks, and 28 1/3 innings pitched coming in to the break.
He's basically going to make it very difficult if he gets ahead with the fastball, because then that entices the hitter to think a fastball's coming against that great slider. But it's a mechanics issue. He's such a big guy, and his front side wants to go left. The front side has to be quiet. It's much more difficult for a big guy to stay connected.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it. Hey, that's nasty.
Second wild pitch of the inning, and now a base hit could mean 2. And the count's 3-0 on Posey with Daniel Murphy on deck. No score in the third in Miami. Bases loaded. Salvador Perez is going to go out and try and figure out the right words to say. Chevrolet is the official vehicle of this MLB All-Star Game and the only brand to earn J.D. Power Dependability Awards for cars, trucks, and SUVs 2 years in a row. Bases loaded, 2 out. Daniel Murphy just over the top on a pitch down and in. I don't think he was expecting a wrinkle on the end of that pitch.
No, he was selling out for fastball. You could hear him say, ooh, right at the last minute, because this one's chasing him. Would have almost hit his knee if he didn't get it out of the way. That helped Betances huge right there.
That's slicing down the line, foul, strike 2.
I'm telling you, with pitching, we've seen it a lot. And sometimes when you get a hitter to swing at a pitch, when you're struggling throwing for strikes and he swings that one way out of the zone, it's crazy how your brain thinks that, okay, I'm right there where I need to be, and you throw the next one in a better location.
Oh-2 pitch, left side. Over to his left, Ramirez, and with Altuve played over to Pull to his left, he had to get the out at first. The Houston Astros dominating the AL West.
Awesome.
Wow.
What a play. It's all about the swagger.
And man, can we hit.
There it goes. Let's go.
El béisbol de los Astros es muy divertido.
That's Astros baseball.
And they are good. They are young. They've got a 16.5 game lead in the AL West. They're 31 games over 500. They lost 111 games in 2013, the Houston Astros, and here we are in 2017. They're running away with their division. They'll probably add before the end of the season to their rotation. They're going to get a couple guys back in that rotation health-wise. They are fun to watch.
They had to tear it down to build it up, and they talked about 2017 in a Sports Illustrated article as their year. So we will see.
The batter is our friend George Springer. Counts 1 ball 2 strikes from Carlos Martinez. It'll be Springer, Correa, and Justin Smoke. Martinez gave up a 2-out hit and a stolen base last inning. Dellin Betances just pitched around 2 walks, 2 wild pitches in the bottom of the 3rd. There is no score in this 88th All-Star game in the 1-2 pitch. A strikeout starts the inning. In the efforts of being fair and balanced, after hearing from George Springer, we check in with Bryce Harper out in right. Hi, Bryce.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Are you going under shirtless out there in right field?
I got a shirt under there, but it's pretty low. Trying to, let that flow a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, well, the flow's fantastic. It's been fantastic since you showed up.
Appreciate it, Joe.
In the big leagues. Carlos Correa at the plate. He takes a strike. Hey, everything we just said about the Houston Astros, we could say in some ways about the Washington Nationals. Are you guys good enough to finally win this thing?
Hey, we're lucky to have a team that we do. Very fortunate to have young guys, veteran guys, great pitching staff. We have 2 aces, and also Gio Gonzalez who's throwing the crap out of it this year. 1 through 8, our lineup is strong. Getting back Trey Turner hopefully soon, and Jason Worth. So, as a team, I think we're doing a great job. We're a family, we're a unit inside that clubhouse, and if we stick together and pull on that same rope, get a few guys, and we'll be okay.
Counts 1 and 2 on Correa, who steps out now, gets back in. That is down 2-2.
Bryce, you mentioned that pitching staff, and it is a talented one. Got some strike throwers and some strikeout guys. What's your mechanism for getting ready just before a pitch is thrown in right field?
Just really try to be focused on what he's going to throw, what the batter's doing. Scherzer, he likes them lined up a different way. Strasburg the same thing, Gio the same thing. So every single guy's different. Right now I'm working with Charlie Blackmon, looking over at him, seeing where he's playing these guys, and vice versa. So just trying to stay on what they're doing and stay with them.
If Carlos Martinez keeps throwing like this, you can basically sit down out there in right field.
Hey, don't say that. You're going to jinx us, especially with Smoke coming up here. This guy's launching this year.
He is. He already has a base hit, Justin Smoke. Now you got Daniel Murphy, who you see plenty of in Washington. He's cutting into your territory out there in right.
What a side of the field we got going right here. Zimmerman, Murphy, Scherzer starting the game. It was unbelievable to stand back there and watch Scherzer do his thing with Murph at second and Z at first. Just goes to show how good our team can be and is. So.
Here's a 1-0. You feel like a vet? You played in one of these when you were 19 years old.
I don't know. I got Daniel Murphy in front of me. He's got a lot of years. Zimmerman, of course. We got a young outfield right here. Cozy also, and Arenado. What a team we got. The National League's very young. Baseball's very young. And, it's a lot of fun to, be part of it.
Back-to-back strikeouts to start the inning. Justin Smoke waits for a 3-0 and takes a 4-pitch walk. Why don't you describe your catch that you made on Salvador Perez back in the second?
I don't know. I was just trying to get over there so that the ball didn't drop in and they scored that run. Pitching is so good in our league right now that 1-2 runs can win this ball game. So just trying to get over there as quick as possible, make that play. Blackman's a great center fielder. He said, go get it, and tried to make the best play I could.
which he did, an all-star game highlight. That's Bryce Harper out and right. 2 out in the inning, and the batter is Corey Dickerson.
Come on, Carlos.
Does it take any of the fun out of this or the intensity out of this now that home field advantage in the World Series isn't on the line?
Oh, no way. I mean, you know, Chris Sale's throwing 97 to 99 in the first. Matanzas right there throwing 100. Carlos Martinez, you know, as baseball players, I feel like we compete every single day. You know, it's hard for the NFL, you know, having them play that exhibition game, that Pro Bowl, because if they go full bore, they're going to kill somebody. I mean, those guys are so strong and big that it's tough for them. But, you know, this game right here, I mean, we still, you know, go at it and get it, and you know, we want to get that W. So.
There's strike 2 on Corey Dickerson. How many questions have you fielded this week about Aaron Judge?
Not many. I mean, that guy's a special talent. You know, great for the game, of course. Like I said, you know, all week, the guys that we have in this game right now, everybody talks about the face of baseball and whatnot, but, you know, there's about 20 faces. I mean, this game is just growing and growing more and more. And if we, as a unit, as a team, as a union and stuff, if we can spread this game on all continents, all countries, everything like that, then we're doing just fine. And we got young players to do that from everywhere. So it's a very exciting time, both on offense and defense, in the box and on the mound. So I mean, if people aren't watching, they're crazy. I mean, there's a lot of great talent out here.
I feel like you're good at multitasking.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm commentating like NFL Network with you right now.
1 on, 2 out.
Speaking of, how do you think Dak's going to be this year?
I think he'll be. I have not met a more impressive young player coming into the NFL in the time I have covered.
Oh man, he's fun to watch. I mean, watching him on Sundays and Mondays, Thursdays. I mean, that guy, him and Zeke. I mean, unbelievable. Just a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah, Dak is a special kid and tough.
Oh, absolutely. Mentally and physically. I mean, when he was at Mississippi State, it was great watching him.
Hey, you know, if money ever gets tight later in life, you could be a broadcaster.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. You guys have fun.
We appreciate it more. Thanks, Bryce.
Yep.
Still no score. Well, we've got changes all over the place for the American League defensively. What kind of a crazy manager would do all that to us?
I take a guy out, he's already got 2 hits, and I take him out of the game.
Yeah, that's Brad Mills down in the corner of the dugout. The guy with 2 hits is out of the game. That's Jose Ramirez. That's your third baseman. He's gone. We've got Sano at third. We've got Scope at second. There is Mr. Sano, who is a beast. Well, we Scope at second. Sorry, Brad, and Yonder Alonso at first. Our new pitcher is Vargas. Go ahead. What are you cooking up down there?
Well, the biggest thing with Sano and Scope is we have a situation where we have 3 third basemen and we have 3 second basemen. And so I want to make sure that all 3 of them are able to get some playing time and hopefully at least one at bat as we go forward.
This is Nolan Arenado, by the way, at the plate, and that's really your objective, Brad, right? Is to get everybody in the game that you can, meaning hopefully an empty bench at the end of it.
That's exactly right. You know, these guys, like I said earlier to you guys, they are the best players in the world, and giving them a chance to show and play, that's the main objective, and they're gonna, if we win, that's icing on the cake, really, in this contest here.
Brad, thank you, and we'll continue talking to you for a little bit as Nolan Arenado's now 2 for 2. And there is a look at Brad Mills. One thing I want to ask you, I know you talked to Terry Francona today, and you told us before the game he sounds like he's feeling great.
He is. He's feeling much better. He sounds much better, and we're all looking forward to hopefully getting him back on Friday.
The new pitcher is Jason Vargas. Yeah. His year is unbelievable, John.
It's been unbelievable. It's a resurgence of Kansas City Royals. Started out slowly, and here's a guy that velocity is not the key to his success. We've seen all kinds of velocity so far in the game, and he really works off deception, cut, fastball, change up, and you won't see many pitches over 90 miles an hour.
1-1. In the air to center. Back near the track and on it for out number 1 as Betts goes back to drive it for a second double play. Arenado tried to take the base on Mookie Betts in center, and he wasn't asleep in this All-Star game as he throws to second, an absolute seed, 2 out, nobody on.
Well, this ball's hit a long ways, but this is a big ballpark here. And you see Arenado, when he sees he gets back to this track, he's going to take off, and now he's fully committed. Betts can do so many things on the field. Not a huge guy, but a good arm, a good bat, and a lot of speed.
I mean, he's a guy who came up as a second baseman. He plays a brilliant right field at Fenway Park, and that's not easy, and Brad Mills knows that all too well. What a player the Red Sox have in Mookie Betts.
Well, the talent is unbelievable. You just saw his arm, but he's got speed. He puts the bat on the ball, gets on base. How nice is that? That's
well, it was nice. Hey,
nice
Brad,
inning.
Have some fun tonight. Good luck.
All right, we sure will. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Still no score. During the 5th inning tonight, John and I will be live on Facebook. Go to the MLB on Fox page and you'll see us live during the entire inning. Here's a first pitch swing and a pop-up off the bat of Salvador Perez out to the second base position where Daniel Murphy is there for out number 1. Here's Alex Wood. Will you talk for a little bit, John? I feel like you're kind of lost over there in the corner.
Alex Wood, what a great story he was with the Braves. The funky mechanics had Tommy John early in his career, and what a start for the Dodgers out of the pen last year. And both him and Clayton Kershaw, what, 24-2? I think that's a pretty good combo.
Yeah, I'd say. Batter is Betts, just made that good play in center with a catch and a throw and a double play. Alex Wood is the first Dodger starter to win his first 10 decisions in a season since Don Newcomb of the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1955 went 10-0. Here's a fly ball into right center field. Here's Blackman to his left. 2 out. 55 year from Brooklyn. They won their first franchise title, a 7-game series over the Yankees. Our Geico in-game box score. You see the 2 hits for Jose Ramirez. He's now out of the ball game. Aaron Judge, I think the world wants to see another at bat from Aaron Judge. But no runs tonight, as Alex Wood has 2 quick outs and deals with Jonathan Schoop. That's strike 1, and it's Wood in relief of Carlos Martinez, who went 2 innings, struck out 4. And that ties Dizzy Dean's Cardinals All-Star Game record with the 4 strikeouts he had in 1934, the second year of the All-Star Game.
Wow. I'm telling you, funky Alex Wood can repeat his mechanics, and he creates a much different angle for the hitter. His fastball, changeup, curveball combination. We saw Chris Sale, taller, slender, lower 3/4 arm. Alex Wood dips, then comes back over the top, and then still has a different arm angle. Check this out. This is the one thing that a lot of people thought, okay, early on, can he repeat this? He looks like a traditional pitcher there, then he goes down, and then he goes back up, and he comes over the top in a lower leg drive. And it is all working for Mr. Alex Wood.
Here's his 1-2 pitch. Jonathan Schoop in his first All-Star game. He's a big second baseman, 6'1", 225. Played all 162 games a year ago. He's got 18 home runs. That's the most in baseball among second basemen. Played in the 2004 Little League World Series on the championship team from Curacao and got the save in the championship game. Great athlete, really good young player. 1-2 pitch is down and in, 2-2. Schoop's hit 15 or more home runs in each of the last 4 years, and just one of 2 second basemen all time to do that before turning 25. That is fair down the left field line, and Schoop's got at least 2. Ozuna gets it back in. It's a 2-out double, and it'll bring in Sano.
That's a great at bat there with 2 strikes. Again, a lot of these guys are known for their power, but the ability to hit for 2 strikes is what separates them as well. This ball just down the line, out of the reach, and a runner in scoring position, which has been rare. We've had a couple already. If Arenado can't get it, I'm sorry, but nobody can.
Arenado's won a Gold Glove since he got to the big leagues. He is just a sensational player, and the numbers he's put together, at some point he's going to cash in. Now there's Miguel Sano, and if you haven't seen him, and I would imagine a lot of you I'm talking to haven't seen him certainly in person, this is a big, thick, powerful hitter, and when he hits them, John Smoltz, they fly. He's impressive.
Yeah, we're given all new stats every year, and exit velocity is a big one that everyone's talking about. Well, his exit velocity is ridiculous. The average ball that he puts in play is at a number infielders don't want to see.
That shallow right, long run. Harper can't get there. Fair ball, and it's 1-0 AL. On a perfectly placed fly ball into right, off the bat of Miguel Sano. It wasn't powerful, but it found the right spot.
And isn't that ironic? We talked about how hard he hits the ball, and that was one of the softer hit balls that he was putting in play, a pitch on the outside part, and that is what baseball can be sometimes. Great pitch, but a perfectly timed hit. Bryce had a long way. Got to respect the power by playing back, and you can see that's in the area of that triangle where the second baseman, first baseman, and of course the right fielder can't come up with it.
So Sano has the first and only RBI of the night. And a bad break for the National League and Alex Wood as Aaron Judge steps in. He's 0 for 2.
What a night last night for Aaron Judge. First All-Star game. A lot of pressure on Stanton defending the home run derby. Everyone to see a Stanton Judge final. Well, they saw Sano Judge final, and Judge put everybody away.
47 over the boards here at Marlins Park, and that's on the inside corner, strike 2. Already the Yankee rookie record with his 30 as a rookie. Leads baseball in home runs.
And that's where you got to get him. If you can entice him to go down there, that's much more difficult. You can imagine 6'7" guy, but he uses his legs in his batting approach so well. That's why he's strong. And you see the number there. No rookie's ever hit a home run. But then again, there's not a lot of home runs in the last 7 to 8 years in this All-Star game.
Fly ball in the air to right center. Back is Blackman to end the inning. Let's go to the bottom of the 5th. We've got a run on the board. RBI Sano, 1-0 AL.
Yankees slugger Aaron Judge could be one of the great ones. With his massive size and captivating smile, Judge didn't waste his talent. Loved by his fans, feared by the opposition, he looks the pitcher in the eyes when he comes up to bat and says,
"And now, you can't leave."
He's got a great smile. He's finished in his first All-Star game, out for the rest of the night, and he will leave 0 for 3. There have been some changes here in a 1-0 game. American League on top. Brandon Kintzler is the new pitcher. Got 24 saves for the Twins. 32 years old in his first All-Star game. Got a unique delivery, and that's in for strike 2.
Yeah, sneaky quick and sneaky good stuff. When a little guy usually doesn't have an extension of about 6.5 feet, he gets out and actually makes it look to the hitter that the pitch is firmer than it is because of his extension away from the rubber.
We see Lindor takes over at short. Justin Upton in right, and here is Lindor. Low but dug out by Yonder Alonso. 1 away. Cozart 1 for 2. This summer, Budweiser committed a portion of its sales to provide scholarships to military families. Today, they presented a $1 million check to Folds of Honor as part of its long-standing partnership with the nonprofit. Over the last 6 years, Budweiser has donated more than $12 million to Folds of Honor. Batter now is Charlie Blackmon, 0 for 2. That's outside. A few thank yous to pass out as we're midway through this 88th Major League Baseball All-Star game. First of all, Chaz Palminteri giving us the voiceover and referencing A Bronx Tale, a great movie. That was his star of it. For Aaron Judge to be part of it. But then beyond that, to Rob Manfred, the commissioner of Major League Baseball, Tony Petitti of Major League Baseball, and certainly Tony Clark, head of the Major League Baseball Players Association. We couldn't do all this stuff tonight without tremendous, unprecedented cooperation from both the ownership side and the players side. And it's been fun. A lot going on here tonight, but it's been fun to be able to talk to some of these players live during the action.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about an exciting moment to play in a game like this with some of your peers and then get an insight for the viewers at home what it's like on the field. You are so right. The efforts and work that it takes to put on an event like this, and really everything that a baseball player has to do when he gets here. Time does not stand still. There's not a moment they don't have something going on, and then when they get to the game, they feel the juices of why they're here and how important it is.
2-2 to Blackmon is swung on and fouled straight back. Charlie's flied to right, struck out, and dealing with Brandon Kintzler. We've got a Minnesota team that comes into the break right there. They're only 2.5 games out behind the Cleveland Indians. As I said earlier, Kansas City right behind them, 3 back. Here's a 2-2. Scope. 2 out. Well, you can check out Adam Scott and Craig Robinson, the stars of the new Fox comedy Ghosted, coming this fall. Play partners investigating the paranormal. It's been described as the X-Files, but with some really outrageous laughs. Ghosted premieres Sunday, October 1st on Fox. Craig on the left, Adam Scott on the right, clapping. Also star of Big Little Lies on HBO that I know you, John Smoltz, could not get enough of. What a great show that was.
Yeah, and I just think that Adam Scott's a pretty good golfer, right? Oh, wait, that's different. It's different Adam Scott?
It's a different Adam Scott.
Oh, all right.
Great guy, really funny. Yeah, but no, not the other guy. Brooks Koepka was up in the booth before tonight's game, the U.S. Open champion. Good to see him and his friends. Here's a little chopper out in front of the plate. Perez out to grab it, and Giancarlo Stanton is 0 for 3. Sixth inning in this All-Star game will roll in 1-0 AL on top. MLB All-Star Game presented by MasterCard. We stand united in the fight against cancer with our partner Stand Up to Cancer. Please join Major League Baseball, MasterCard, Fox, and the entire baseball family in standing up to cancer. And visit standuptocancer.org to find out how you can help today. Everyone has a reason to stand up to cancer. This summer, get together for a priceless cause with MasterCard to help fight cancer. Spend $10 or more with your MasterCard when you dine out, and MasterCard will donate up to $4 million, one precious cent at a time. Promotion ends on August 18th or at the $4 million goal. Visit priceless.com/standup to learn more and share your stories using the hashtag #StandUpForThem. Get Me, the Fox Sports Go app. A 1-0 American League lead as we go into the top of the 6th inning. Hits are even at 5 apiece, and a little floater that fell in off the bat of Miguel Sano, the only RBI of the night. 50 years ago today, whose 15th inning home run won the All-Star game for the National League? 50 years ago. I'll give you the answer coming up. Well, some more changes, and it starts with Zach Greinke on the mound. He's not the only Diamondback to take over out there, but we'll get to that in a second. Here are the numbers for Zach Greinke, who has had nothing but success after winning a Cy Young Award in Kansas City. He's been with the Dodgers. He was kind of the understudy to Clayton Kershaw at the front end of that rotation. He signed a huge deal to go to Arizona. But Zach has the best winning percentage in NL history. He's a great athlete. He's 135 record-wise in the National League.
That's incredible, and what a difference a year makes for the Diamondbacks. Last year, everything went wrong. They didn't make wholesale changes. They felt that they would be better, and better they are. That's a big reason right there. Goldschmidt at first base, and the representation they have here in the All-Star game.
Here is Springer with a pop-up right side. Goldschmidt gives it a look, but he's out of room. So let's see. Paul Goldschmidt is at first base. You got Josh Harrison at second base. Corey Seager, the shortstop. Justin Turner at third. Michael Conforto is in left. Our director, Matt Gankel, is probably yelling at me right now. Ender Inciarte is out in center, and Cody Bellinger is in right. See all those changes? Wholesale. Into center. And the new center fielder, Inciarte, is in to make the play. One away in the 6th inning. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate with some mask that he looks like he took off of C-3PO.
One of the veterans here. 8-time All-Star. Along with Cano. It's a younger game. See, a little bit different game when you get a chance to rub elbows with some of the great, some of the guys that you're used to watching and playing with.
Well, here is Francisco Lindor. He's the one giving kind of a hero to so many young Latin players. Yadier Molina, that hug at the plate. As John said, Molina an 8-time All-Star, and Francisco Lindor is a guy that we're going to get used to seeing in the Midsummer Classic. He's in his second. He's only 23 years old. He's got power. He's got light up a camera type smile. And he is one of the guys on a short list of players who, when they say who would you start a team with, he's got to be on there. You look at the first 3 seasons and extra base hits by a shortstop. He's there behind some great names, including his teammate tonight, Carlos Correa.
Can you imagine? I know this would never happen, but can you imagine if we redrafted all the players in the game, and the pressure on the GMs to make decisions on some of these rich positions is incredible. Who could you pick if you redrafted? Where would you pick? They're so talented at third, short, all around the diamond. It really is incredible, the youth and how prepared they are to be superstars so early in their career. There's a young man that doesn't get maybe as much credit because he's a bigger shortstop, not as flashy, but boy, he can handle the bat.
A foul tip off the bat of one Puerto Rican player into the glove of another. From Lindor to the glove of Yadier Molina. 2 up, 2 down against Zach Greinke here in the 6th.
2 of the shortstop that we showed with Seager and Correa, 2 of the bigger ones as we watch Zach Greinke pinpoint control. Everything he throws has great stuff, and of course Molina holds on. But Lindor is more of the prototypical size, flashy, fast defender. Whereas Corey Seager and Correa are going to fight hard to try and stay there as long as they can at shortstop before they are eventually moved over because of how big they are and strong they are to go to third base.
Yonder Alonso has to fight it off, and that's going to drop into right for a base hit. It keeps the top of the 6th inning alive and gives us a chance to talk about Yonder Alonso in his 8th MLB season. He's 30 years old, his first All-Star game. Absolutely wide-eyed being here. He was the 7th overall pick by Cincinnati in 08. He's been with the Padres, now with Oakland. Come on, was that a somebody just take a picture?
Yeah, Cruz brought up his phone. And,
no way.
Wants a picture with Joe West.
Hey, 5,000 games.
The oldest guys in the game.
Yadier Molina has to take the picture. Nelson Cruz, who asked for a picture with Joe West with his 5,000 plus games as an umpire in the big league. Okay. 1 on, 2 out. Greinke, strike 1.
Wouldn't that be a 15-yard penalty in the NFL?
I was going to say, I mean, yeah, for sure. You can't use a prop.
You can't use a prop.
You can't go to the ground, and now he's got his phone in his back pocket as he hits with 2 out. This one into center sends Inciarte back, and Nelson Cruz, who's had 40+ home runs for 3 straight years, now he shakes hands with Angel Hernandez. Tonight's telecast presented by MasterCard, sponsored by Merck, proud supporter of Stand Up to Cancer. We're having fun in Miami. Bottom of the 6th, 1-0 AL. By the Hartford. It's Irvin Santana, who has had a career resurgence. Look at the opponent average against, just 206. And a big part of the reason why the Minnesota Twins are right there in the race in the AL Central.
Yeah, he was talked about as possibly one of those chips they could trade, but they're not going to trade him anytime soon because they're in the mix. Fastball, slider, changeup. Primarily that slider, signature pitch for Santana.
In his second All-Star game. He finds a strike to Cody Bellinger.
What an amazing first half that this young man has had. We all talk about Judge, and we should. But he's done it in less time. He didn't start the season with the Dodgers. You see the numbers there. It's an incredible stretch he's been on for the Dodgers.
He's played first. He's played the outfield. Part of a Dodger team that's now running away with the National League West, and it is a very good division. Cody Bellinger, who was in the home run hitting contest last night, the home run derby, with his dad Clay, who won 2 rings with the Yankees back in his day, throwing BP to him. Grounds to the right side. Scope to his left. 1 away. Tonight's telecast is presented by MasterPass, the simple, secure way to pay online and on your phone. Don't just buy it, MasterPass it. And sponsored by Dunkirk, written and directed by Christopher Nolan, in theaters July 21st. Batter now is Yadier Molina. Joe Maddon, the manager for the National League, is on a IFB, as we call it, a little earpiece and a microphone down in the dugout. You having fun, Joe?
Yeah, I'm having a great time, actually. I'd like to get a couple runs right here, but otherwise pretty good.
Yeah, it's been a really fast-paced game. And
yeah.
It seems like in these all-star games, guys go up there ready to hit, ready to swing. They're obviously facing good pitching, throwing strikes, and the game has a nice pace to it.
Well, it does. I mean, you're right. Both sides, the pitching's been outstanding. From my vantage point right here, you really see the carry on the fastball. You can see the late break on the break and stuff. They've all been throwing strikes and locating well.
What's going on with the Cubs? What should we expect in the second half?
Hopefully a nice resurgence. We need to get our starting pitching back in order, obviously, and I'm hoping that happens. Getting Kyle Hendricks back is going to be a big boon to us. Get Johnny Lackey back out there consistently. But more than anything, I think, starting pitching, the bullpen's been great, actually. And then as much as anything, I've really been harping on situational hitting more, moving the ball, using the whole field. That's a homer.
There's one
That's
into right off the bat of Molina. Now he says home run, and he was right. Game is tied at 1. Yadier Molina with a homer here in the 6th. Yadier Molina now 5 for 8 at the plate as an all-star.
Properly struck right there, boys.
You called that right off the go there.
Well, it's hot. Like I said, when you sit right here, stand right here, you can hear the sound of the bat. You can see the ball come off the bat. It was definitely, even though it's a big part of the Arden right central, that came off hot.
Hey, Joe, I know as a manager in managing your own club, you have a lot of decisions and a lot of processes to go through. Is this a little bit more relaxing, even though you still have a lot of decisions to make in this game?
Yeah, honestly, it's been kind of fun. The fact that the game really doesn't count, and it is an exhibition, it makes planning it a lot easier. And beyond all that, having just American League rules at the DH, knowing about where your pitcher's sitting in the batting order, all that stuff. The combination of being an exhibition game and American League rules helps manage it. All this stuff we tried to choreograph it yesterday before the game began.
Harrison stays alive. For Joe Maddon, this is his second time managing in an all-star game back in '09. He won with the American League in St. Louis. I know this time it doesn't count, but I do think that during that 14-year stretch, this game got a bit of a recharge, and whether it counts or not, I sense a little more intensity than prior to the change in the rule in 2003.
No, believe me, everybody's ready to go. I mean, the tone in the dugout before the game was just like a regular season. Their practice has been great. Their interaction's been high energy. Everything's high energy, man. So it's not like guys are just going through the motions by any means. And I think you're going back to the point now eventually where you're trying to reestablish National League versus American League pride. As as a kid growing up. I was a National Leaguer, became an American Leaguer when I signed with the Angels, but it was really stark, the difference in how much you rooted for one league, and possibly probably is going to get back to that again.
Well, we'll let you go, get back to your job, and this place has got some life to it too. These fans have had some fun. That's great.
That's a full house. It's a great vibe here. Thanks, guys.
All right, Joe. Good luck in the second half as Justin Turner was trying to untie it in his first at bat. Here's the replay of the home run by Molina.
Fastball catches a little bit part of the plate that he didn't want to, and Molina has become
moving the ball, using the whole field.
So good at going the other way and sitting on a pitch.
And there they are again, Lindor and Molina, fellow countrymen.
Molina went from photographer to home run hitter.
Well, he's always been a clutch player.
Never seen a player in a catching position dominate a game, a series, like Molina does, getting his pitching staff through the game. And really, ever since Pujols has left, become such a better offensive weapon. Everybody thought when they signed that contract a while ago it was mainly for his defense, but his offense has taken another level. And that's why he is a perennial all-star.
Here's a pop-up. Turner ends the inning. Yadier Molina just became the oldest catcher to homer in an all-star game. He'll turn 35 in 2 days. All smiles. Game tied at 1. Back after this from your local Fox station. Brad Hand is the new pitcher for the National League in a new game. It's 1-1 after the home run by Molina. And this left-hander has been busy. since he was claimed from the Marlins organization by the Padres and will likely be in another uniform by the end of the month. Here's Gary Sanchez, who took over in the last half inning, and the terrific young Yankee catcher with his 13 home runs fouls it out of play, strike one.
Yeah, he was last year's version of Aaron Judge in the first half. He came on the scene and dominated via the home run. It's a tough matchup for Hand. He can't leave one over the middle of the plate, especially the slider that he loves to throw.
Strike two.
He throws a little bit unorthodox, standing up as he kind of recoils, but his fastball, you see at 95 with good movement, and the slider is one of the pitches that's very difficult for hitters to hit. Only hit 110 off that pitch.
20 home runs in his first 51 games last year when he came up, and just wasn't to be stopped. He ended up finishing second in the American League Rookie of the Year vote. Even with the limited time, Michael Fulmer, former Met right-hander, part of the trade for Cespedes, won it from the Tigers, but Sanchez, 24-year-old catcher, is the rock around which they will build this young Yankee nucleus. That is foul down the left field line.
That's the pitch I'm talking about. That one up a little bit more, and you're having a hard time keeping that in the park. And the emergence of Sanchez made McCann expendable, and now McCann is over with the Astros, enjoying the success there. Sanchez had some injuries, but if he stays healthy and Judge stays healthy, that's a pretty good combination back-to-back in the lineup.
So Avisail Garcia, he's on deck. Here's the 0-2. Up to get it, and bouncer to Harrison. One away, and let's go down to Ken Rosenthal.
Nelson, how did you come up with the idea for the photo with Joe West?
Well, it wasn't my mind early. They told us that we don't have the phones on the clubhouse, the dugout, and I was like, okay, they don't say it in the field, so I come up with that. I mean, I'm a big fan of Joe. You know, he's been around for a while, so I was like, I have to do this.
How did he and Yachty react?
Yachty was like, okay, I got it. And he was all like, no, what are you doing? Get out of here, you know, all it. But yeah, then he was like, okay, let's do it.
All right, let's see it. You've got the photo in your pocket. Oh, here it is, right here.
Oh, that's nice. Suitable.
There you go, Joe. Baseball history.
Suitable for framing.
Thank you, Nelson.
Thanks, Ken. So a moment for Nelson Cruz and Joe West. Strike one on Avisail Garcia. See the numbers he's put together this year. Doing it with the White Sox, formerly with the Tigers organization. The 0-1 pitch is up and away, ball one.
It's going to be an interesting second half trading deadline with some of these all-stars you can imagine are going to go somewhere else. The American League has so many teams involved in playoff chances, where the National League not so much. So the White Sox, you would imagine, would be part of the mix and sending some of their players.
That's strike two. Garcia is number one in the American League against left-handed pitching. He's in his first All-Star game. Got a great arm, good athlete. Hurt his finger on Friday, but obviously good enough to participate tonight. Here's a 1-2 from Hand. It's a foul ball. Yankees and Red Sox get together this weekend, and it's the start of a important road trip for New York. They lost 18 of their last 25 coming into the break. They trail by 3.5, and it'll be the start of an 11-game road trip. 1-2. Down 2-2. American League has won 4 straight All-Star games, 16 of the last 20. And during the 14 years where home field advantage was determined by the winning league in this Midsummer Classic, the American League won 11 of the 14. It's a tie game tonight. That is on a rope out to left and caught by Conforto. Garcia could not have hit it any harder. 2 down. Once again, our Dell trivia question. 50 years ago today, whose 15th inning home run won the All-Star game for the National League? Tony Perez, who was here tonight. 1 out in the top of the 15th inning in Anaheim. He took Catfish Hunter deep. And there's Tony Perez today. 75 years young. Was great.
Got to be pretty cool.
Robinson Cano now at the plate, his first at bat. He took over this American League All-Star lineup for the guy that replaced him basically at second base in New York, and Starlin Castro, who is close to returning from a bad hamstring. But Cano gets the opportunity in his 8th All-Star game. He is just 1 for 7 at the plate. Strike 2.
He's still one of the best, and of course Seattle trying to figure it out as he signed that contract. A lot of injuries to their pitching staff. Of course, Cano, such an icon with the Yankees, but he's as smooth as it gets at second base. Makes everything look easy.
There may have been arms that were as good as Robinson Cano's at second base, but I don't think there's anybody that had a better one. It's a thing of beauty to watch, and Cano strikes out. A scoreless inning put up by Brad Hand. And this game remains tied at 1. Again, pitching down. The last 11 All-Star games, there have been fewer than 10 runs combined. You talk about all this velocity and guys starting and relieving, throwing hard. Pitching has just shut down offense in All-Star games over the last 11 years. And right now, for the introduction of God Bless America, we join public address announcer Chad Robinson.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise and remove your hats. Please join us in honoring our country, the brave men and women of our armed forces, and all of our veterans, as we welcome Senior Airman Jan Nierza of the United States Air Force to sing God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains through the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America.
7,000 gaming laptop, as real as it gets. And by Chevy, the only brand to earn J.D. Power Dependability Awards for cars, trucks, and SUVs 2 years in a row. Glad you're with us tonight on Fox. From Miami, here are the changes. Moustakas takes over at third, Robinson Cano at second, and on the mound is Roberto Osuna, who closes for the Toronto Blue Jays. Electric stuff, and right now the American League is out of bench players, so Brad Mills got his wish. He's got everybody in the ball game as we play here in the bottom of the seventh. Paul Goldschmidt at the plate and flies one into right. To his left is up and one away.
You mentioned Osuna has electric stuff as he's trying to keep it a tie game.
Well, let's send you down to Tom Verducci.
Well, I'm with Yadi Molina, the oldest catcher to hit a home run in the All-Star game, but you had the smile of a little boy running around the bases. Tell me about the home run and what it meant to you.
That's true. I mean, I feel like a little kid right now. I'm running the bases, seeing Lindor there, having fun with me. I mean, it was a great moment.
Well, not only do you make All-Star games and win Gold Gloves, you take a pretty mean picture, too. What'd you think of Nelson Cruz using you as a photographer?
that was a weird moment right there. I mean, I didn't know what he said at the first moment, and then I was like, yeah, I take a picture with you and Joe. I mean, it was a great moment, funny moment.
8th All-Star game and new memories. Thank you, Yadi.
Thank you, boys.
Tom, not just the oldest catcher to homer in an All-Star game, passing Yogi Berra in 1959, who was 34 years old in 83 days. He said he'll be 35 in 2 days. Yadier Molina will be, but he's also the first Cardinal to homer in an All-Star game since Reggie Smith in 1974.
Really?
Hard to believe. Conforto, a 2-2 count. Roberto Osuna trying to keep this 1-1 as we play in the bottom of the seventh. Two-two. Little flare, base hit. Go-ahead run is on here in the seventh as Conforto reaches with one out. How about a StatCast for Yadier Molina? The swing, the exit velocity, it went 385 feet, launch angle 31 degrees, and the smile, and StatCast powered by AWS.
Yeah, and he had to have all of those working because this is a big yard. I know the home run derby made it look small, but we're talking about some of the best. Pitchers friendly park.
Well, here's one of the best young players in the game, hands down. Shortstop for the Dodgers, Corey Seager. 23 years old, rookie of the year last year in his second All-Star game. He's got power. He's a big man. He chops one to second. Cano flips for one, and Lindor completes it. And the inning is over. 8th inning already in the All-Star game. We're still tied at 1. 1-1 game into the top of the 8th inning, and now you get into closer land, and it's Greg Holland for the National League, the former Kansas City Royal, facing the current Kansas City Royal, Mike Moustakas, who hits one into right, didn't get all of it. Bellinger has it, 1 pitch, 1 out for the 8th inning.
Well, I was getting ready to say Moustakas has 5 home runs versus 2017 All-Star pitching, which is most in baseball. Thought he might have got one right there, but it's Greg Holland, and the story of the Rockies and why they've been so good this year. They took a flyer on Greg Holland coming back from Tommy John, and he's been outstanding. And the Rockies in the mix, holding that second wild card as we speak at the break.
So now it's Justin Upton, 29-year-old outfielder in his 4th All-Star game. Leads the Tigers in home runs, RBIs, stolen bases, so you get an idea of the athlete. Got good power, 236 home runs. And it has always been a power arm for Greg Holland. As John said, coming off Tommy John surgery, didn't pitch last year. He was about as close to automatic with Kansas City, 93 of 98 in the save department between 2013 and 14 when he was a closer for the AL champion Royals.
Just goes to show you how unique a delivery is. You wouldn't teach this, but it's unique and nasty. It almost looks like he's trying to head to first base on a comebacker or a play at first, but he has the unique ability to throw that slider, which acts as a split and somehow commands the baseball despite staying in the center of the mound when he delivers it.
One out, nobody on here in the 8th. Upton takes a strike, and the count is 2-2. The last extra inning game in an All-Star game was in 08. That was at Yankee Stadium, a 4-3 American League win in 15 innings. Two out. And with the bases empty, Michael Brantley will be the hitter. NFL Hall of Fame receiver Chris Carter and celebrated media personality Nick Wright teaming up to bring you the first opinion on the day's most interesting stories in sports. First things first with Chris Carter and Nick Wright, live from New York, premiering Tuesday, September 5th. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern, weekdays on FS1.
Now I got this. Chris Carter's hit a lot of home runs in his day, hasn't he?
Well, that's the guy that was just.
That's a different Chris Carter.
A different guy
and a different Adam Scott. Twice on our.
You're 0 for 2. Man, it's embarrassing. Actually,
we need to get more relevant. Pretty good wide receiver.
Yeah, I'll say. I'm happy to have him in the FS1 family as the count goes to 1-1 on Michael Brantley, who's a great story. Was rehabbing a shoulder injury, could not get healthy last year, played only 11 games. But he was there cheering on his teammates who came to within 1 win of winning it all last year. That almost caught him, but Brantley got his feet out of the way. So count 2-1.
Yeah, you cannot understand what it's like to try very difficult comebacks and just work as hard as you can to join your team. He wasn't able to do it, but a tribute to him to get back to the All-Star game after all that he's overcome. A very important part of the Cleveland Indians as they try to return back to where they were last year.
And leading their division at the halfway point. That's down. The count's 3-1. Michael went to Cleveland as the player to be named later in that July 08 trade that involved CC Sabathia going to Milwaukee. Good breaking ball, 3-2.
Yeah, we haven't seen a Brewer representative yet, but they've been the kind of the under the radar story in the National League, leading the division that nobody thought would be possible with the Cubs coming off of last year's World Series, and certainly they're going to run away with it this year. Has not been the case. Milwaukee off to a nice start.
Yeah, the Brewers have a choice to make. You and I were talking about it yesterday. I think they're going to add. I think they are in a position now. They're in first place. You see they lead in home runs and stolen bases. That gives you an idea of how that roster is constructed. Won 9 of 11 going into the break, and they lead the Central by 5.5.
Well, I think they're going to be the first to make the move, actually, because they're seizing a moment that I don't know from spring training they thought they were going to be in this position.
Nelson Cruz is having fun.
Yes, he is. A lot of guys do. They get here, it is busy, got a lot of things going on, but once the game rolls around, a unique opportunity to feel like you've checked in. For some young guys, it's the time where they go to the next level in confidence, saying, I'm an all-star, I belong, and I've reached that pinnacle, and try to continue in the second half.
That's a base hit into right with 2 out. Brantley will be content with a 2-out single. He keeps the inning alive for his teammate Francisco Lindor.
Now another good hitting with 2 strikes, 3-2 count. Gets it by Goldschmidt. Hits are tough to come by. We've seen the only run for the American squad on a bloop, if you will, from Sano, and then the homer by Molina.
The numbers for Lindor: 14 home runs, 43 RBIs. Switch hitting shortstop waits and is out in front of that pitch from Holland. Strike 1. By my count, the National League has Strasburg, Knebel, Wade Davis, Kenley Jansen, and Robbie Ray left in their bullpen. The only reserve player is a regular for the National League that hasn't been involved yet is Joey Votto.
Yeah, think about that position. Think about first base and just some of the great years that have been had by players that we don't have a Miguel Cabrera. Joey Votto is yet to get in, and Freddie Freeman was having an unbelievable year until he got hurt. Now switching and playing a little third base for his team.
I say that because DJ LeMahieu has been bothered by an injury, and Joe Maddon was told not to use him. A strikeout ends the inning. 2 in the frame for Greg Holland. Where's the offense? We haven't had much, but we've had a lot of smiles in Miami. Bottom of the 8th inning, National League will bat in a 1-1 game. All forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. Only one change for the AL, and it's the right-hander Chris Davinsky from the Houston Astros. But just so you're reminded, and I guess we all are, it's Brantley in left, Avisail Garcia in center, Justin Upton in right with Moustakas, Lindor, Cano, Alonso on the infield. Gary Sanchez just received that pitch down and away, and they count 1-1 from Davinsky.
Well, I wish more teams would get to this kind of super reliever mindset. Davinsky, you see 35 games, the ability to pitch multiple innings, nasty stuff.
Alonso at first with a catch, 1 out.
Funky mechanics, good fastball, but the changeup, a signature pitch. A big reason why the Astros have had success. They can eat up some innings out of the pen. But the ability to pitch more than 1 inning has got to start catching on in more clubs. Therefore, lessening the amount of pitchers that come in per game.
Well, here's the last position player available to Joe Maddon. DJ LeMahieu not going to play in this game, which was a bit of a surprise when we showed up in Joe Maddon's office before tonight's game, but bothered by an injury that's not serious, they asked him not to play him. So Joey Votto is it. He is batting in the number 2 spot. And Joey Votto in many ways has had a tremendous career, is having his most productive year at the plate, and that's saying something.
Yeah, in this game where analytics can take over, he has basically made some adjustments. One of the best eyes you'll ever see. Gets on base better than anybody, but he's now hitting with power, driving in runs. You see the numbers there. This guy's awareness of the strike zone is second to none.
He's back from ball 3. He is 1 of 5 to lead his team in runs, hits, home runs, RBIs, and walks. Since his debut in the big leagues, he's number 1 in Major League Baseball in walks. He's a former MVP. He's a Gold Glove Award winner. 11 years in Cincinnati. At one point, a 2nd-round pick. That's a strike, and the count's full.
There's a good example. Looking for a pitch when you're ahead in the count. Looking for something to drive, something off speed. He didn't like it. 3-2. More than likely, he's going to put the ball in play. Oh, nasty changeup proved it wrong.
And so now 2 out, nobody on as Votto strikes out. Tonight's telecast presented by MasterCard and sponsored by Budweiser. Proudly brewed across America. This Bud's for you. By Toyota. Let's go places. And by the new Samsung Galaxy S8. With 2 out, nobody on, here is Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, when I first saw Cody come into the league, it's a unique batting stance, very erect, and he has that way of, see where he's looking straight at the pitcher, a unique batting approach. And you're like, there's no way this can continue. And not only is it continuing, he's hit 25 home runs, and no pitcher's been able to really solve. When you come into the league, you're looking for 1 or 2 pitchers to give you keys to go, that's where I didn't see that. Now I'm going to go there, and the whole league adjusts. So far, the kid's the king of the hill coming in for the Dodgers.
That's a strike, 2-1. As we talk about the benches being depleted, each manager designates 1 player that can come back in the game. For the American League, it's Jose Ramirez. For the National League, it's Zach Cozart. Way out in front of that pitch is Bellinger, 2-2.
Let's see, with that unique uppercut swing, you would think he'd be vulnerable to a lot of those pitches right there, but I gotta tell you, there's not a lot of pitchers in the league that can throw that pitch consistently in the area of a weakness for a hitter.
To the right side, Cano. Fun to watch. And that will send this game, this 88th MLB All-Star game, into the 9th, tied at 1. Well, Kenley Jansen takes over for the National League here in the 9th inning. It's a 1-1 game. First up is Yonder Alonso, and that gets past Harrison into right. And Alonso is 2 for 2 in this 6th spot in the lineup for the American League. Has been on base 4 times.
He's having a great first half, and super excited, you can imagine, to be here. And he faces one of the best in the business. Steps up there and takes that cutter, gets it past Harrison for some action here in the top of the 9th.
We had our trivia question earlier, and that's actually the last time an All-Star game's been tied 1-1 through 8, 1967, when the National League won on that Tony Perez home run in the 15th. Here's Nelson Cruz. He can untie it in a blink. That's a ball outside. This is the 6th year for baseball in Marlins Park. It's a beautiful facility. 37,000 plus fit in here. Very intimate. Runner is going, and a stolen base uncontested for Alonso.
The league has been slow to picking up on this notion that closers, you don't steal a base late for fear of getting thrown out. Watch how long it takes Jansen to get to home. Betances has the same issue. You've got to take advantage of the 90 feet when a tough guy on the mound just doesn't give up many hits. Really? That's exactly what Alonso did.
So a stolen base for Yonder Alonso. He's at second, nobody out. Here's a 1-1. Take a bite out of that, says Kenley Jansen. 94 miles an hour and a deceptive delivery. Strike 2.
It's just amazing. This guy used to be a catcher. Matter of fact, in the World Baseball Classic, converted into now a dominant closer. Everything he throws cuts, and occasionally he'll throw a breaking ball.
He's got incredible control. He's only walked 2, struck out 57 and 37 and 2/3 innings this year. And he's #1 in baseball in saves since 2014. Signed a big deal to come back to the Dodgers after that great run they had last year, coming up short in the NLCS. 2-2 pitch, struck him out.
And see what he does. It looks hittable on TV, the ball over the middle, but he has such spin to the baseball and creates such an illusion to the hitter that literally he could just throw all cut fastballs. Gets on the side of the ball. That ball didn't react, but it gives the illusion that it rises. The barrel of the ball goes, the barrel of the bat goes underneath the baseball, which tells you they can't pick up that spin.
Now it's Gary Sanchez. Runner at second, 1 out. Ball 1.
There was that late movement, front door cutter, trying to start it in on Sanchez and catch the inside part of the plate. Sanchez, a good fastball hitter.
That's strike 1.
It's interesting, Joe. I don't know particularly how you feel, but I started my year with the World Baseball Classic that actually started here in this stadium. And the rules for World Baseball Classic for extra innings, to me, I love it. I think creating runners on and creating this action type instead of running the risk of games going 15, 16, 17 innings. Be interesting to see how baseball looks at that down the road.
Strike 2 on Sanchez.
Because what it does is it puts the strategy in scenarios where both teams have to have the same scenario, and it's more of a mental adjustment to knowing you're probably going to give up a run, but you as the team that bats afterwards has a chance to score 2 or tie it up. But it's grown on me, and we got a chance to deal with that at the World Baseball Classic level.
Still 1-2 on Sanchez.
Brings more strategy in. Of course, the pitchers don't have to deal with the statistics of inherited those runners and affecting. their job.
Well, during the regular season, it's obviously crushing to a bullpen.
Yes.
You can wreck a bullpen for a week. In an all-star game, it becomes tricky as well. There are pitchers designated to go long on each side if this game goes 2 extra innings, but they don't want to go too far. 1-2 pitch. We talked about that 15-inning affair in 2008 at Yankee Stadium. We had that tie in 2002 in Milwaukee, which forced the whole "this time it counts" change, which then forced the managers to hold some players back, trying to avoid a tie. That wasn't fun for anybody in Milwaukee in 2002. A long way from that at the moment. 2-2 pitch.
Yeah, and we've talked about it from the very beginning, how great this game is with the players that they have representing each team. And as long as the game times don't keep going north of where they are today, this game's in great shape with the way that it's played and the opportunity that these great arms and power bats, exciting defense.
That's inside a full count. Sanchez trying to become a hero tonight for the American League, and this ball stayed inside. Runner at second, Yonder Alonso, is now 6 for 8 in his career against Kenley Jansen. He was in the division for a while with San Diego, and he becomes the first Cuban with 2 or more hits in an all-star game since Rafael Palmeiro in 1998.
Well, the one thing you can't have against Jansen is a big swing, because that cutter's going to eat you up. So simple, barrel to the ball, short compact swing is the only way you're going to have success.
Another 3-2, and he struck him out. 2 down. 95 miles per hour from Jansen. 2 out.
You see Sanchez taking what was really like a 0-0 swing with 2 strikes, and that cutter, see the spin of a 4-seam fastball that just goes away from the right-handed hitter. Cannot. It's your eyes and lack of time to make a decision to determine where that pitch is for the bat to try to find the ball.
Well, the American League had a runner at second and nobody out. Now Alonso is out there with 2 out, and the batter is Avisail Garcia, who's 0 for 1. Hit a rocket out to left his first time up. Strike 1. Hey. Bottom of the 9th inning, it'll be the heart of the order, which includes Yadier Molina. Craig Kimbrell getting ready to face that group. And that may happen shortly. Strike 2.
Yeah, good luck to everybody when you face these 2 guys that have been closing games at a high rate for each team. Of course, Kimbrell with the Red Sox started with the Braves. Part of 2 pretty big trades.
0-2. Ball 1. Avisail Garcia trying to untie it.
What? That's a ball.
And they've called a balk on Kenley Jansen, and he doesn't argue at all. That'll send the runner Alonso over to third with 2 out. And Jansen knew it immediately.
Still in that move right there? Hey, that was nice, man.
Wheels, man.
Woo! What? That's a ball.
He didn't come set.
Yeah, he completely forgot to, because he knew it right away. Forgetting the guy was on second. Because you can do that with nobody on and mess with the timing of the hitter.
Runner at third now. The go-ahead run. 2 out, 1-2 pitch. Jansen strikes out the side. He gave up the hit and the stolen base, committed the balk, and then took care of the rest with his right arm. That's what Kimbrel will try to do in the bottom of the ninth. Presented by MasterCard. MLB.tv every night, every device. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live. As Kimbrel takes over and misses high to Yadier Molina. Plus, you can get a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Craig Kimbrel has been sensational for the Red Sox. Former Rookie of the Year with the Atlanta Braves. Misses high again to Molina, who homered in his only other at bat, 2-0.
Yeah, this is an understatement. You really got to get lucky as a hitter against Kimbrel, and just think location and run into a ball, because his velocity and power curveball combination is as good as it gets. A weird angle. The hitter looks like a ball's coming uphill.
That's outside. 3-0. The interesting part of this is, should Molina reach, Joe Maddon really can't use a pinch runner. A 1-1 game here in the bottom of the ninth. And he will reach here with a walk. You can bring Zach Cozart back into the game, but the only way you can bring a catcher back into the game is because of an injury. So Molina's got to stay out there. He does not run well, and he's the winning run at first with nobody out.
Yeah, I wonder, we don't see many bunts in baseball, period, and we don't see many bunts in the All-Star game. I wonder if this is one of those instances where Josh Harrison will be bunting over Molina and putting him in a scoring position.
Joe Maddon may just leave it up to Harrison. It's hard for a manager to tell a guy in an all-star game to give up an at-bat and move a runner over for somebody else. No sign of a bunt, ball one. Kimbrel has yet to throw a strike. Till now, 1-1. He's 29. He's the anchor to the bullpen for the first place Red Sox. They come into the break with a 3.5 game lead over the Yankees and the Rays. The 1-1.
That pitch is so difficult. And right now he hasn't commanded one of them. All you got to do is start it on the plane of the fastball where it ends up. There's not a hitter in the world that can lay off of it unless they're just so fooled they take it by accident.
Second all-star game for Josh Harrison. He's made at least 20 career starts at 5 different positions. Valuable player for the Pirates. Here's a 2-1. Right by his bat at 99, 2-2.
If there's anybody that could possibly take down Mariano Rivera as the saves leader, the health of Kimbrel and the ability that he has to have a high rate of success for save percentage very well could happen.
Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it.
Pop up back behind the plate, now to play.
See Molina trying to guess and dance and possibly take a bag. Again, closers for the most part throw hard and take a while to get the ball to the plate with their delivery.
Molina will surprise you every once in a while with a steal. And you're right, he was over there bouncing around trying to get a feel for Kimbrel. Not this time. 2-2. One away. And a strikeout by Kimbrel of Harrison. And that will bring in the third baseman who took over midway through this game, Jake Lamb. And you see he's got 67 RBIs, 20 home runs, and he has done almost all of his damage against right-handed pitching.
Yeah, for the most part, the teammates of Lamb and Goldschmidt were 1 and 2 in RBIs.
That's strike one. Goldschmidt on deck. There's a good stat to pop up at this time for Jake Lamb. Most home runs in the National League by a third baseman. One of 3 with over 60 RBIs over the last 2 years before the All-Star break. Molina the runner at first, 1 out. That gets away, and down to second is the winning run.
Sanchez couldn't find the ball. It went up beyond the.
I never saw a stick back there.
The ledge, and you heard Joe saying, you hear it get wedged beyond that ledge, the green ledge right there. Ball rises on Sanchez. He's trying to find it, and it disappears on him.
They ruled that a pass ball. Runner at second, 1 out, 1 ball, 1 strike. Lamb can't hold up. Strike 2.
88-mile-an-hour power curveball. Sure, Lamb hasn't seen too many of those.
Kimbrel working to divisional rival catcher Gary Sanchez has him go through the signs again. 1-2. Winning run at second. Nice job by Sanchez to block that. 2-2.
Yachty on his way back was giving a fellow competitor props on this block ball. This is very difficult. See how quickly that ball hit in front of home plate. Watch Yachty. He's like, that's pretty good right there.
Two and two the count. Jake Lamb at the plate, and now Kimbrel and Sanchez are going to talk about it as they can't get on the same page. So while they converse out on the mound, we'll tell you that summer's huge all-star events don't end tonight, because on August 2nd, soccer's best step into the primetime spotlight on FS1. Ronaldo leads Real Madrid against the MLS All-Stars live from Chicago's Soldier Field. As Lamb takes ball 3 up and away. That MLS All-Star game August 2nd on FS1.
It's difficult to hit against some of the best, and even with runners in scoring position. You're talking about a lineup where everybody has a good average just about with runners in scoring position.
A walk puts 2 on with 1 out and brings in Paul Goldschmidt. And I, for one, am happy he gets another at bat, because we didn't get a chance to go through some of the numbers for Paul Goldschmidt. Here's ball 4 from Kimbrel to Lamb. As that pitch just takes off, and Goldschmidt has a chance to win it. Goldschmidt is one of 5 right-handed batters since 1969 with a 300 or better average, 400 plus on base percentage, and a slugging percentage of 500 or better, and he's been doing it every year out in the desert.
He is by far the quietest superstar in our league. All he does is do exactly what he's supposed to.
Winning run at second. That's Molina. Good breaking ball from Kimbrel. Strike 1. By the way, Goldschmidt good defensively as well. A 2-time Gold Glove Award winner. In his 5th All-Star game, he is 2 for 12 at the plate in All-Star games past and tonight. He's 0 for 1.
You see that bat angle. It's very unique, but he has a quick trigger to the ball and gets to all parts of the field with power. You see what 2012, what he's been able to do. It's pretty dominant.
Waits for a 1-2 from Kimbrel. Goldschmidt hits one in the air to center. Back to grab it. Garcia. Tagging is Molina. He'll go to third. 2 out.
Now that might seem innocent on a fly ball to get 2 outs, but that puts a lot of pressure on Sanchez and even Kimbrel if he wants to go to that power curveball on protecting it against a wild pitch walk-off if they're not able to protect.
Well, here's one of the sweetest swings in the game from the left side. Michael Conforto, the New York Met, in his first All-Star game. Came off the disabled list and played on Sunday. Had been on with a bruised wrist. Already has a career high in home runs. He's got the winning run sitting over at third base with 2 out here in the All-Star game. Lamb takes second, uncontested on ball 1.
Yachty's biggest goal is going to be as big of a secondary lead that the third baseman Moustakas away from the bag allows, and then read it as best as he can. Anything in the dirt that gets by Sanchez.
late on that swing. A ball and a strike. There was no stolen base, by the way, awarded to Jake Lamb. But he's at second. Important guy is Molina at third, 2 out. Conforto. The 1-1. Strike 2.
Just powers it through the upper tier of the strike zone. It really does look to a hitter that he's throwing uphill.
That's upstairs and out of the strike zone. Good job by Conforto to lay off that pitch. 2-2.
All fastballs so far. Kimbrel not messing around. Conforto's been late on the ones that he swung.
Conforto can win it. Strikes out. And the 88th Major League Baseball All-Star Game is headed into the 10th. Wade Davis getting ready. We're still tied at 1. Glad you're with us tonight on Fox. If you look at the overall numbers in the All-Star Game history, the numbers are pretty even, obviously. But the American League has dominated this game over the last 20, winning 16 of the 20. They had a 1-0 lead after 5. Molina's home run tied it in the 6th. Here we are in the 10th, and Wade Davis takes over on the mound, representing the Cubs. First up, Cano takes a ball.
He saw perfect on the year. He was a monster with the Royals and their run to the championship and World Series. Now with the Cubs anchoring their bullpen, hoping to do the same thing. Get back to a World Series.
Here's a 1-0 pitch. Cano fights it off. Hard to believe that the Cubs And 7 All-Stars a year ago are represented this year after winning a world championship, at least player-wise, only by Wade Davis. And he wasn't on the team last year when they won it all.
Exactly. Joe Madden made up for it, though. Brought the whole staff and everybody associated with the Cubs on the way here.
Hard hit into right, back at the wall. Come on, Cano puts the AL on top, 2-1. That's the 4th extra inning All-Star game home run and the first since that Tony Perez home run 50 years ago.
Wow. You talk about a pretty swing.
Moustakas hits a dangerous foul ball that thankfully hit no one at the end of that American League dugout that is fanning off Robinson Cano, who is right now the leader for the MVP.
He stayed on that breaking ball, and he just has such a.
Oh, evidently one of the cameramen had the camera up and must have gotten hit. That ball hit the net. It appeared, but that still photographer has a towel up to his face. I mean, that ball was a rocket off the bat of Moustakas. That's Mike down on a knee. That can't be a good feeling for him.
As soon as he can move, we need to move him because I think he's going to be all right. He might not leave. You want to get him up?
That looks to be all right. Unbelievable. And Moustakas over to check on him. Thought it hit that netting down at the end of the dugout, but it must have caught that still photographer. I don't know if his camera was up or what happened, but I don't know how with that foul ball hit as hard as it was, and he's able to smile and he's all right. Thank God.
Yeah. You know, Moustakas. Glad for that. No hitter ever wants to hit a ball or pull a ball into the stands or anywhere where somebody can get hit.
That netting ends at the door to the dugout. So those photographers have their cameras that don't have to shoot through nets. It's a dangerous spot to be. Everybody Chuck Torres down there checking on him. Major League Baseball. That's fouled back. And the count 1-2 now on Moustakas with a run home. The American League looking for their 5th straight win, leading 2-1.
Yeah, they want to tie this thing up all time for sure, and they have had the dominant stretch over the last 15 to 20 years.
1 out. Let's go back to the home run by Cano.
Well, there's that breaking ball, and there's the pretty swing. He knows it as soon as he hits it. Poetry in motion and everything that he does, defensively, offensively.
Now Upton with 1 out. Takes a strike. Up the middle, base hit. Justin Upton on base for the first time in this All-Star game. Let's go down to Ken Rosenthal.
Thanks, Joe. Robinson, Wade Davis, what did you see? What did you get?
Well, I got a quarter first pitch, ball, quarter foul ball, and then breaking ball, and I was able to put a barrel and get it out of the park.
You faced him a lot before. You've had success, 7 for 23. What is the key against him?
Well, he's the guy you got to take advantage whenever he come over the plate. We know he's filthy and one of the best closers in the game.
Robinson, thanks very much. Joe, back to you.
Well, you can draw a crowd down there. Robinson, Cano with Miguel Sano in the background, then Salvador Perez, Nelson Cruz, who is Mr. Congeniality here in Miami.
And this is how it works sometimes. Wade Davis, 1 homer allowed and 296 batters faced. 2016 regular season and postseason. And he allowed a homer to the first batter he faced tonight. Timing.
1 on, 1 out. I sense you're still bitter about the fact that you have 2 All-Star game losses.
That's why you're the best at what you do. You read right through me.
Let it go.
I have. It's there.
Nobody
Almost.
cares. Michael Brantley waits and takes a ball, 1-2. Brantley singled through the right side in his previous at bat back in the 8th. Davis brings it on 1-2. Back to Davis. Can he turn it? Well done. Seager in the middle and a double play ends the top of the 10th. And it's only a 1-run game, but Robinson Cano unties it. Seager will lead it off for the National League in the bottom of the 10th. Back after this from your local Fox station. In the top of the 10th inning. That right now the difference in the game is Andrew Miller, the filthy left-hander from the Cleveland Indians, will try and close it. 2-1 game. First up, Corey Seager. Miller's been a starter. He's been a closer. He's been the game's best setup reliever. He can do it all, and he has the willingness to do whatever they ask him to do.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. But if I'm Seager, I'm sitting all over fastball right here, hoping he throws it 2-0.
3-0. It would be a different story if Seager were to get on to start the inning as opposed to Molina last inning. Ender Inciarte waits on deck.
Yeah, Miller gets the left-handed version. It's 3 in a row.
3-1. Among left-handed pitchers, Andrew Miller has the highest swing and miss rate since 2015. That's lined into right. A late break and a catch by Upton. One away. Didn't get a great start on that rocket to right by Corey Seager, but he made up for it.
Yeah, that ball was hit awfully firm and looking like it was going away from Upton. 3-1 pitch. Miller came in. Seager turns on it. Too much topspin. He was looking for backspin, and that backspin would have been over the fence instead of in the glove of Upton.
What a catch by Justin Upton. Another late addition to the roster for the American League, like Cano. Right now, presumed MVP of this game. Here's Inciarte. Gold Glove Award winning outfielder. He's number 3 in baseball in hits with 112. Count evens at a ball and a strike.
Miller unorthodox, being left-handed and on the third base side of the rubber, and then slings it across the body.
Strike 2.
And the arm length that he has and wingspan is something hitters, again, other than Randy Johnson, don't get a chance to see too often. And he's resilient. He can bounce back, pitch multiple innings, and used in many different ways.
1-2 pitch. Breaking ball had Inciarte frozen, but he took it low.
Honestly, Terry Francona used him in a way he normally wouldn't have last year in the postseason because due to the injuries to the starters.
That's down again, a full count.
Everybody got excited on how you use your bullpen pieces. You can't use them year to year, season to season like Terry was able to use them in the postseason. It's just not possible.
Now Brad Mills, the acting manager for Francona in this game. 3-2 pitch. Good job by Inciarte to get a piece. Second All-Star game for Andrew Miller. Another 3-2. Chopped up the middle. Tough play. Lindor to his left. 2 out. 2 good defensive plays to start this 10th for the American League.
Well, good speed. Ball up the middle. Great read by Lindor. So gifted athletically. And such great instincts for a young player. If only he would smile more.
Same for Cano. Yeah, he's fun to watch. With 2 out, here's Votto. 3 left-handed batters for Andrew Miller to deal with, and if Votto were to reach, another one on deck in Cody Bellinger. Votto 0 for 1. He's hit 26 home runs this year. He takes ball 1. Just missed. That's down. The play made by Justin Upton to start this 9th inning is tremendous, and it's the first time he's played in right. 4 years. Didn't look like it.
Yeah, left fielder by trade. It's a different angle. People say, what's the difference? Well, it's a big difference. Corner outfielders.
That's ball 3. Another All-Star game that is dominated by pitching. 2-1, bottom of the 10th, 2 out, nobody on, 3-1 count on Joey Votto. Pride of the Reds takes a walk. Came into this game with our 4 keys to the game, talking about which power wins. Well, power pitching so far.
Yeah, it sure has. And the timely second homer of the night was the one for Cano to put him up 2-1. That last 3-1 pitch was a pitch of respect to Joey Votto. He didn't just throw a 3-1 fastball. He went with a slider.
Well, here's Cody Bellinger. He takes a ball. Bellinger, a rookie. 22 home runs in his first 52 games. Fastest to that plateau games-wise. He's been unbelievable for the Dodgers, who lead the NL West. There's a strike.
If he throws 2 more over there, the youngster's not going to have much to do with that. You almost got to stay in on the slider. If he starts it at you, get ready to swing. It's going to be over the middle of the plate.
That's strike 2.
It's just putting 2 right where you want to. For Miller, I would think he's almost got to throw a slider off the outside part of the plate, see if he can get Bellinger to chase.
1-2. Struck him out. American League wins again. A 10-inning game in Miami. A 3-hour, 16-minute game, and the AL has won 5 straight, 17 of the last 21. Robinson Cano. The home run in the top of the 10th off Wade Davis is the difference in the ball game.
Well, it's a unique game, a fun game. We got some insights from some of the players while they were playing. We saw the excitement. Even though it didn't count this year, everybody was prepared to give their best effort. Pitchers dominated, and Cano with a big homer in extra innings as the American League tying this thing up all time. Pretty amazing.
All time, 88 All-Star games. It's 43, 43, 2. Each side. How about Cano? Made a winner of Craig Kimbrell, a loser of Wade Davis, and gave the save chance to Andrew Miller. Here's the final swing.
Yeah, that's those 2 fastballs before. Almost impossible for a young guy to stay off of a slider from a left-hander. Miller, Cleveland, getting ready to roll in the second half, get their manager back.
That makes Brad Mills happy, and you know Terry Francona watching back in Cleveland. Let's go down to the field and Tom Verducci.
Justin Upton, your first game in right field in 4 years. Take us through that diving catch you made to keep the game at 2-1.
Well, I faced Andrew Miller a lot. I definitely wasn't expecting that hard of contact, but you know, you got to stay on your toes when there's that many good players here, and ball came off, I went and got it.
Justin, your 4th All-Star game, the first one where the World Series home field advantage was not on the line. What did you think of the format and tonight?
It's great. These guys here still want to win, and you know that's why they're playing at the level they are. So in this dugout, everybody wanted to win, and we came away with a W.
Justin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Back to you, Joe.
All right, thanks, Tom. Each side left 8 runners on. American League wins it 2-1 on the home run by that man, Robinson Cano. And we'll take a break, step aside. The MVP award will be handed out on the other side of the break. I have a feeling we'll see Mr. Cano again. Kevin Burkhardt will be along with the MVP award on the other side of the break. AL wins again, 2-1 in 10. Back after this. 2-1, the American League wins it in 10, along with our producer, Pete Macheska, our director, Matt Gangle. Joe, John, Ken, Tom, and now down to Kevin Burkhardt.
Okay, Joe, thank you very much. We're here with Commissioner of Baseball Rob Manfred to present the Ted Williams Most Valuable Player Award. Commissioner.
Robinson, for that great 10th inning home run, it's my pleasure to present to you the Ted Williams Most Valuable Player Award presented by Chevrolet. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Robinson, was you just figured it was time to get out of here and go home, or tell us about that home run in extra innings to win it?
Well, I know I was facing one of the best closer in the game, and I was just ready that whatever you throw at the play, I'm gonna swing. I'm gonna be the first at bat. Then I'm gonna take a pitch right down the middle.
Now, you know, Wade Davis doesn't give up too many home runs. Were you thinking long ball on that at bat?
Well, honestly, I was just trying to swing hard and see if I can hit one out, and I was lucky to hit it out. First, I want to thank God and the beautiful fans in Miami and from all over the world that came tonight, and my beautiful family.
You've played in 8 All-Star games. Where does this experience rank for you?
Well, I would say all of them is going to rank number 1 because every All-Star is a different one. It's a different feeling. You feel like the first one you're going to come to an All-Star because you're always guessing how it's going to be because it's a different city. But, you know, this is remind me the same day that I won the Home Derby with my dad. And this is for my family and the beautiful fans in Seattle and here in Miami.
Oh, that's great, Robinson. Before you go, we have one more surprise. We're going to welcome in Brian Sweeney, who is the U.S. Vice President of Chevrolet. Brian.
Great job, Robinson. So you got one more choice here to make tonight. So on behalf of Chevrolet and all of our dealers in the United States, you have your choice between the Chevy Colorado ZR2 to your left, or right behind me, the Chevy Corvette Grand Sport. You pick it.
Well, that's an easy choice. I take the Corvette.
Why is that such an easy choice, Robinson?
You know what? To be honest, I almost bought that car 2 years ago, but I was like, you know what? I get on later, and look at what happened tonight. Honestly, thank you, and thanks to my family, and thanks God.
Well, go and get it. Good for you, Robinson Cano, the MVP. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's go back upstairs.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Great job tonight, Mr. Burkhardt. Great job tonight, Robinson Cano, the MVP, the winning swing, 2-1, AL in 10. Back after this.